Night. The Pacific is anything but winds howl. Rain drives horizontal. The sea surges up, nearly to the flight deck of the aircraft carrier USS Kitty Hawk. The carrier plunges, driving its bow into a wall of gray water. The deck pitches forward and back, rolls left to right, and yaws in a corkscrew motion. The entire 93,000-ton behemoth rises and falls in the typhoon-driven swell. Something drops down out of the night, a roar. Silver wings flash by, a cockpit, fiery jet exhausts. A 40-ton monster drops at 120 knots into an area the size of a tennis court in a controlled crash. 2A, a shower of sparks, a screech of rubber and metal as the gear hits the deck. The hook catches the 3-wire and the F-14 Tomcat is slammed to a halt. It's the scariest thing you've ever seen, the most dangerous maneuver in aviation, and just another day at the office for a naval aviator. Titles over. Hard driving rock and roll, the cars ride me high. Flight deck, the landing signal officer leans almost horizontal into the winds. He holds the pickle, controlling the landing lights, and speaks into a mic. His calm, professional commands belie the extreme conditions. LSO power, don't climb. Okay, hold what you got. Another Tomcat flies over the ramp, it slams in. The pilot hits full power, catches the wire, slams to a stop, cuts his engines. Air ops, below deck. Lots of scopes and electronic gear. The carrier control approach officer watches a blip on radar, reaches for his mic key. The twilight's last gleaming, we float like gods, above the storm, above the cloud cover, looking down. From overhead, a probe slides into frame, then a graceful nose. The cockpit sides by, pilot, then radar intercept officer barely illuminated by the orange glow of their instruments. The fuselage gracefully swells to 2 enormous air intakes, then variable angle wings, swept back for high-speed flight. Twin tail booms can outward, horizontal stabilizers make constant adjustments. Enormous twin jet exhaust ports glow red in the moonlight. Cockpit. We become aware of wind whistle, jet engine sounds, radio static. The pilot, Cougar, is calm, steady. The radar intercept officer in the back seat, Goose, is a wild man, always an edge of humor in his voice. A UHF transmission breaks in. Strike, said Ghost Rider, this is Strike. We have unknown contact inbound, Mustang. Your vector 090 for bogey. Almost immediately the Rio picks up a target and responds. Goose said contact 20 left at 25, 900 knots closure. Angle, second F-14 115 Cougar's wingmen come in on the cockpit with stenciled name and call signs. LT Evan Mitchell is the pilot, Maverick. In flight suit and oxygen mask, we can only see his eyes. They are confident. In his mid-20s, he is lean, hard, athletic, the archetype fighter. Pilot. His rear-seater is LTJG. Walter Merlin, Wizard. Maverick said I'll ID him, you hooky M. Maverick peels off to right, to high cover position, 5 o'clock. Ghost Rider 117, Cougar's POV. Heads-up display glows dimly on the windscreen. Directly in front of the stick, 2 CRT screens display data. The bottom screen shows a radar sweep. Wedged between the instruments is a snapshot of a pretty young woman with a 2-month-old baby. Goose said closing fast. Mustang, this is Ghost Rider 117. Contact 1 bogey, 090 at 15 miles, 900 knots of closure. Cougar said look for the trailer. Goose said I don't see anything. Maverick, you have a trailer? Maverick's F-14. Flying in combat spread, 1 mile abeam, higher. Goose said negative, Cougar. Looks like he's single. 117 Cougar's cockpit. Cougar said hang back and watch for him. Here comes MiG-1. Sky. Closing at 900 knots, the MiG is a speck, then a flash and a roar, a knife-edge pass at 300 feet. It rockets past his left wing tip and disappears. Cougar kicks rudder, whips the stick, screams into a tight turning roll and dives after him. He slams the throttle forward to Zone 5 afterburner. Maverick's F-14. Maverick sees a second MiG drop from above onto Cougar's tail. Maverick said, "Bogey on your 6. I'm on his." Maverick swings after him, lights it. All 4 jets scream down in a power dive. They punch through cloud cover into the soup. Cougar's F-14. He is closing on the first MiG when a shocking blip tone breaks into their headsets. Goose said, "I've got a 6 strobe. I think he's locked on us." Cougar said, "It's a MiG-21. They don't have radar missiles." Goose said, "Let's hope you're right." Cougar said, "What is he doing?" Goose said, "He's pissing me off." Cougar swings mad gyrations, cutting back and forth across the front MiG's tailpipe, trying to break the lock-on. The tone grows more insistent. Cougar said, "Can't shake him." Maverick said, "What's MiG-1 doing?" Cougar said, "Maintaining course. Straight for Mustang." Goose said, "Stay with him." The tone grows steady, blip. Goose said, "That's missile lock." Cougar said, "He better be kidding." Goose said, "Lordy. Eyeball to asshole. Hope nobody burps." Maverick's F-14. Maverick said, "I'll lock on them, Cougar. Gotcha covered, don't nobody move." Cougar said, "I'm up here too, Maverick." Maverick said, "Roger, Cougar. Okay boys, pull out with your hands up and nobody'll get hurt." Cougar's F-14. Up front, Cougar checks his gun sight, he gets IR lock. Cougar said, "We're locked on MiG-1. Why doesn't he disengage?" Goose said, "These guys are getting on my nerves." Finally, MiG-1 turns away. Goose said, "Ghost Rider TO Mustang. Bandits turning away." But Cougar presses forward, and MiG-2 stays on his tail. Maverick said, "Cougar, brake left. Try a high G roll underneath. Break out the bottom." Anger gives way to discipline. Cougar's Tomcat brakes left, dives into dense cloud. MiG-2 still follows. Maverick said, "He's still on you, Cougar." Cougar in the clouds still hears the tone, blip. Cougar said, "I know. I know." He rolls over into wild evasive maneuvers, finally breaks lock. MiG breaks out of cloud, looks around, startled. There is nothing, no F-14. He scans the sky frantically, while rolling the aircraft. Suddenly, he feels a presence. He looks straight up and behind him. A few feet away, a Tomcat slides into position canopy to canopy, an incredible feat of flying. Maverick and Wizard stare at him. Maverick slides even closer, canopies nearly touching. The MiG pilot acknowledges them with a weak wave. Maverick stares for a moment, then flips him the bird. The MiG pushes -G, hard down and away. He heads for the deck. Wizard said he's running for it. Maverick said, "Ah, the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat." Wizard said, "Speaking of feet, fuel's down to 4.0. We're gonna get them wet unless we find a Sunoco station." Maverick said, "Cougar, this is Maverick. I'm getting hungry, let's head for the barn." Cougar, where are you? Kitty Hawk flight deck, the LSO stands on plunging deck, peering into the roaring night. CCA said, "Ghost Rider 115, this is Mustang. WX 300. 1 mile visibility with heavy rain. Final inbound bearing 340. Deck is moving." Cockpit 117 Cougar said, "This is crazy. How the hell we supposed to land on something we can't even see?" Goose said, "Hey, if it was easy, everybody would want to come up here and do it. Instead of just us." Cougar said, "You." Mustang to Ghost Rider 115 110 spin, 42 lock. At 5 miles read your needles. Cockpit 115 Maverick said, "Needles read down and left." CCA said, "Concur, fly your needles." Maverick said needles center. CCA said Roger. Call the ball. Maverick said call the ball? I don't see the ship. Cockpit 117, Cougar's POV. Blast slam the airframe. Rain tattoos the canopy. A gust rolls the Tomcat, he straightens it, a gust flips it again. Maverick's POV. The carrier lights appear and disappear through the storm. Cockpit 117, Cougar Goose said. A walk in the park, Mustang. You with me, Catman? Cougar, you with me? Goose is thrown about as the wing dips, straightens, dips. Cougar said help me with this one, I'm really screwed up. Goose said bring it left. Bring it left, you're high. Cougar said this is crazy. Goose said what is? Cougar said wait. Hell. Something's wrong. Goose said what? What is it? Cougar said we're upside down. Goose said you're crazy. We're level. Cougar said can't you feel it? I'm hanging in my straps. Goose said you're not. We're level. Look at the instruments, we're okay. Cougar said they must be broken. I'm hanging in my straps. We're inverted. Goose said we're not. Trust me. We're okay. Flight deck LSO controlling 115, Maverick LSO said a little power, fly the ball. Looking good, hold what you got. Maverick's F-14 on final approach. Cockpit Maverick he hears Cougar's chatter over the air. Cougar said we're upside down. We can't land. Goose said well, we can't stay up here either. Flight deck. Maverick's plane settles in over the ramp, suddenly, blasts from its afterburners, it roars over the deck without touching and off into the night. The LSO is shocked into comment. LSO said where the hell you going? Maverick's cockpit Maverick said I forgot something. Wizard said what the hell you doing? Maverick said helping him in. Wizard said what makes you think we can get back in? We don't have the fuel for this. Maverick said just get me to him. Wizard said he's 9 o'clock high. We're 2,000 pounds low. Dark turbulent clouds. Maverick's plane pulls up behind Cougar's. Cougar's plane suddenly flips over, flying inverted. Cougar said I'm pulling up. Goose said no. Now we're inverted. Maverick pulls up off the wing of the inverted aircraft. His voice is calmness itself. Maverick said HUI, any of you guys seen an aircraft carrier around here? Cougar looks over, surprised. Cougar said what are you doing here? Maverick said everybody's GOTTOB somewhere. Now we're right with you. You are inverted. Roll it, Cougar. Nothing happens. Maverick said Cougar, this is Maverick. Half roll it. Now. Cougar's plane completes the roll, is now upright. Goose said we're on vapor, Cougar, you got to put it down. Cougar said it's crazy, man. Instruments are crazy. We're gonna have to eject. Goose said tell him, will you tell him? Our instruments are okay. Maverick said you're straight and level, Cougar. Cougar. I'm hanging in my straps. I turn it over and I'm still hanging in my straps. What the hell is going on up here? Maverick said you're not in the straps. It's vertigo, that's all it is. Stay on my wing. I'll drop you off. Maverick pulls up wingtip to wingtip, inches apart. Cougar said Maverick. Maverick said yeah, Cougar? Cougar said you better not be ragging me. If you're flying upside down. Maverick said no joke, Cougar. On the level. Even I wouldn't do that to you. Cougar said I'm upside down. I know it. I'm gonna eject. Goose said look at the weather. They'll never find us. We're near out of fuel. Put it down. Maverick said, Cougar, you're on the ball. Cougar said, okay. Okay. But if I land this thing upside down, and I live, I'll have your butt. Goose said, you'll have mine, Cougar. It'll be where your head used to be. Flight deck. All eyes are on what they can see of the approach of the two planes. Maverick drops him off at the pattern and circles. The LSO watches the approach. The Tomcat drops a wing, straightens, drops the wing, straightens. The approach of a pilot experiencing vertigo as Cougar tries to satisfy his inner ear. LSO said, level your wings. Easy. You're settling, fly the ball. A wind shear just off the ramp drives the plane suddenly down. LSO said. Power, power. Power. Nave off. Wave off, wave off. Afterburners blast, but the Tomcat horrifyingly settles tail low toward the deck. The deck crew watches in terror as the plane wallows in toward them. The LSOs turn, take a few steps and throw themselves off the flight deck. They sail into the night toward the surging seas 100 feet below, then are caught in safety nets hung off the side. The plane settles, standing on its engines, trying to arrest its downward momentum. The hook raises sparks as it skids across the deck. The plane stops falling and hangs for a moment, about to blast back up, when the hook catches the last wire. The wire snags it, plucking 45,000 pounds of fuel, metal, and men out of the air and slamming it all to the deck. Wham! Right wheel flies up the deck and over the side, the gear collapses. The plane screeches sideways. The crew watches helplessly as it skids, slams into it, and comes to rest in cloud of fuel vapor and steam. The LSO runs up, shouting into the mic. LSO said, Cougar, Goose, come in, Cougar. Shut your engines down, you've arrived. Air boss said, Ghost Rider. Acknowledge. Ghost Rider. Acknowledge. Crash crew leaps into action. The fire crew is there. The man in the silver suit jumps up on the wing and crawls to the cockpit. The figures inside are not moving. He hits the canopy release. The canopy pops open. Silver suit grabs at the rear seat harness release. He screams through his suit's aluminized cloth. Silver suit said, Goose, can you hear me? Goose. Nothing for a moment. He's dead. Then the Rio's helmet moves, his head turns. He tears the mask away from his face, looks up at Silver suit. His head clears. Goose said, oh, hello? Valet parking? Silver suit is stunned for a moment. He straightens up, his head inclines quizzically. Then it hits him. Silver suit said, son of a bitch. Goose said, you will put it up front, with the Porsches? He grabs him under the armpits, drags him out of the plane. Goose said, hey, easy, take it easy. I'm a veteran. Goose grabs a passing crewman by the arm. Goose said, can you check under the hood? I thought I heard a funny noise. Other crew members help Cougar out. He seems stunned, but Goose reacts to his fear with frantic one-liners. He grabs a crew member's radio as Silver suit helps him away and looks to the figures of the Admiral and the air boss far up on the bridge. He waves to them, does his best impression, Desi Arnaz. Goose said, Lucy, Ricky, Ian home. Bridge flight deck. A moment of disbelief. Then hysterical, tension-relieving laughter. Flight deck. Goose spots Cougar being helped out. He pulls away, reaches back into the cockpit and grabs Cougar's snapshot of wife and kid. They lead Goose away as firemen blast the aircraft with foam. Goose said, is it extra for the hot wax? Bridge flight deck. Air boss said, clear the flight deck. Flight deck. A Tilly, a four-wheel mobile crane, slams up to the plane and slings its lifting harness. Goose turns to Silver suit. Goose said, well, there goes your tip. Maverick's plane, they have monitored the chatter. Wizard said, it's Goose. He's all right. Bring it left, you're settling. Is the deck clear? LSO. Roger, ball, little power, don't climb, okay, hold what you got. Wizard does a quick sign of the cross, reaches down, grabs his balls, says. Flight deck. The Tomcat slams onto the deck, clearing the wreckage by inches. Carrier hatchway flight surgeon, others watch as they bring a shaken Cougar past. Goose, eyes wild, waves at Maverick and Wizard, rolling up. They flame out. Vroom. They sit there, immobile, waiting for a tow, looking numb. Goose does his stewardess. Goose said, on behalf of your captain and your crew, I want to thank you for flying VF 101. And next time your plans include the middle of the goddamn ocean in the dead of frigging night, I hope you'll think of naval aviation. The surgeon looks into Goose's eyes. Surgeon said, stress reaction. XO. Check his head. Goose said. Never mind my head, check my shorts. Sick bay, later. Cougar lies alone in the dimness, staring at the overhead. 03 level, below decks, officer's country. The usual CLANGS, whistles, engines of Navy life sound forlorn, echoing through the dim, deserted passage. From the distance, a single figure passes in and out of the glow of the overhead lights. Cougar comes closer, hobbling unsteadily. He reaches a door, pulls himself erect and knocks on the sign, Commander Tom Otowaksek, COVF 101 Stinger. Stinger's cabin. The skipper works at his desk, responds without looking up. Stinger said, come in. He looks up. Cougar stands in the doorway, a strange, dazed look on his face. Stinger said, Cougar, what is it? You should be in sick bay. What are you doing? He walks over to the skipper's desk. His eyes are glazed, but his jaw is firm. Cougar said, thinking of my wife and kid. A determined movement. Hand to chest. Something metal hits it, skids across the polished surface and clangs up against the coffee mug, gold wings. Passageway. Cougar comes out of Stinger's room, bumps into Goose and Maverick. He turns the other way. Goose said, Cougar. He stops, turns to them. There is nothing to say. Goose hands him his snapshot. Cougar looks at his wife and kid for a moment, then looks up at them. He turns away. Maverick said, Cougar? Stinger, Maverick, Goose, come in here. Stinger's office, doorway. Maverick appears, followed by Goose. They stand at attention. Maverick said, sir? The skipper says nothing. Maverick sees the wings on the desk. He enters, walks over, stares down at them. He picks them up. Goose said, don't worry. I'll talk to him. Stinger said, don't. Maverick said, he's a good pilot. Stinger said, I talked a man back once. 3 months later, we lost him. It's his decision. Only he knows. Goose said, he's the best you have. He's going Top Gun. Stinger said, was. Maverick said, what? Stinger said, was going. Now you are. Maverick said, me? Maverick stares at the wings, lost in conflicting emotions. Stinger said, well, he's going and he needs someone to fly the plane. Goose said, Skipper, you can't do this. Stinger, I didn't do it, he did it himself. Something about a wife and kid. The fact is, he's lost it. He knows it. I know it. You were up there, you know it, too. Goose said, give him a break, Skipper. It was raining snakes up there. He'll be all right, soon as all the gorillas go home. The skipper stares at Goose, nonplussed for a moment. Stinger said, I know some Rios are a little wiggy, but you abuse the privilege. I don't believe I'm going to have to put the two of you in the same cockpit, but there it is. It may be good for the Navy. It might be good for you, but most of all, it's good for me. It'll get you out of my sight. Goose said, but, Skipper, Cougar's been picked for Top Gun, he's the best of the best. Stinger said, well, you'll just have to make do with him. Goose and Maverick exchange looks. Goose said Mav's a great flyer, but Stinger said he's a hell of a flyer. In fact, he's so damn good he might have been picked for Top Gun himself. Except for one thing. He just can't seem to follow orders. Stinger moves slightly to stand now, directly in front of Maverick and speak eye to eye at 4 inches. Stinger said you just did an incredibly brave thing. What you should have done was land your plane. You don't own that plane, the taxpayers do. I should ream you out for it. But it just doesn't work with you. You're a hell of a flyer. You are maybe too good. You never really stepped in it yet. So this is your chance. I'm gonna send you up against the best. They are better than you. Maybe they'll knock that shine off your eagle and you'll see, finally, where discipline and teamwork fit it. Maverick hasn't really heard anything but Top Gun. He snaps out of it. Maverick said, "Sir?" Stinger said, "That is all. Tell me about the MiG some other time." Maverick said, "Yes, sir." He snaps off a salute and does an about face. Stinger said, "Maverick." He turns back. Maverick said, "Yes, sir." Stinger said, "The wings." He looks down at the wings in his hands, slowing walks over, places them gently on the skipper's desk. Stinger said, "Gentlemen." Maverick Goose said, "Sir?" His facade cracks just slightly. Stinger said, "Good luck." Passageway. Maverick and Goose push through a gauntlet of aircrews. They have become notorious. Guys grab at them, questions, the MiGs? What happened up there? How close did they get? What did the MiGs do? One word is heard over and over. Top Gun. Goose is left behind in the crowd. Maverick pushes through. He walks faster. Up ladders, around turns, down ladders, through passageways. Faster. He breaks into a trot, then a canter, squeezing past enlisted men, parts lockers, then he breaks into a run. EXT, carrier, night and storm. A hatch slams open on the side of the carrier. He's out on a catwalk, instantly soaked, running on rain-slick stairs cantilevered high over the breaking seas. He plunges forward to the bow of the ship, stands on the very peak. He is yelling something. He stands there as the bow plunges terrifyingly into the trough. The water rises like a green mountain, up to break just a few feet below him, showering him with spray. The noise is incredible. Come around on his face. It is maddened. He raises his fist and punches the night. The foaming slope of the wave rushes up, changing color as it dissolves too. Desert sand whipping by. Mojave Desert 1 week later. A big bike, a real big bike, a turbo, rockets across the desert. Fast. Real fast. Aviator shades low above the handlebars. Maverick. Goose hangs on in back. It cranks faster, pulls closer, engine screaming. It cranks up a notch, it's going to explode. It can't go faster, but it does. It screams higher. It roars under, by, and away, leaving dust. The bike, still. Silence. Just the hiss and pop of metal cooling. Maverick sits on it, staring out past us. Goose looks over Maverick's shoulder. We see why. Feet come into the frame. Then the uniform, California Highway Patrol. Country road near San Diego. Angle on Maverick. CHP enters the frame, the usual hyper-civil arrogance tinged with odd disbelief. The usual questions are spaced for effect as if he might be talking to some other form of life. Maverick is off the bike, standing at attention. Goose follows more slowly. CHP said, "Son. Do you know why I stopped you?" Maverick has some good idea how to deal with authority. Maverick said, "Yes sir, I do sir." The CHP adjusts his own aviator shades. CHP, well. What is it? Maverick said. Sir, you are going to give me a warning, sir? CHP, with a touch of a smile, quickly Sir pressed. CHP said license and registration. Maverick hands them over with his Navy ID. CHP scans them, hesitates a moment over the last, looks up with a touch more respect. CHP said, Lieutenant, do you know how fast you were going? Maverick said, yes sir, I do, sir. CHP said, well? Maverick, sir, I was going Mach .15. CHP nods sagely. CHP said 1/6 the speed of sound. Maverick, yes sir. CHP said. Lieutenant. What do you usually fly? Maverick said F-14 sir. CHP said. Tomcats? Maverick said yes sir. A long pause. Respect in the cop's eyes. He taps the Navy ID on the handlebars, staring at this sincere young man. CHP said, Lieutenant. Is there a Russian attack? Maverick said, no sir. But you have to be ready. The cop nods and stares at him. Miramar Naval Air Station later. Omit. The bike is blurping. Barely going fast enough to stay upright. Maverick, cool in shades and campaign cap, dorks past the hangar with the sign, Fightertown, USA. He pulls ahead. In back of him, escorting with flashers, the CHP. They pull up at the gate. Maverick and Goose salute the guard, hands over their ID. The CHP gets out of his car, leans against the door. CHP said, Lieutenant. Maverick turns to him. Maverick said, yes, Sergeant. CHP said, remember one thing. Maverick said, sir? CHP said, outside of this gate. I am Top Gun. Maverick said, yes sir. He salutes. The CHP returns a snappy one. He gets back in his car and turns away. Maverick receives his ID and clearance. As he passes through, a couple of pilots in flight suits stare at him. The taller, dark, cool one speaks in a dry voice, meant to be overheard. Ice said, oh, police escort. This one must be a real killer. The second pilot grins big at them. Maverick turns slightly, stares over his shades at them as he passes. Goose grins back the challenge. Aerial combat Vietnam ERA F-4 MiG-17S stock the doors on the soundtrack. Jets swoop, missiles fire, a plane explodes. Gun camera views of MiGs, SAMs, flak, bombing runs. Viper said during the Korean War, the Navy kill ratio was 12-1. We shot down 12 of their jets for every one of ours. In Vietnam, this ratio fell to 3-1. Our pilots depended on missiles. They lost their dogfighting skills. F-14s fighting with F-5s. Music becomes current. Viper said Top Gun was created to teach ACM. Air combat maneuvering, dogfighting. Richthofen, Geinmer, Rickenbacker, Galland, Rudel, Bang would envy us. We do just what they did, but we do it beyond the speed of sound. Day, Top Gun orientation room. Viper, a tough-looking, confident leader in a blue flight suit, stands before a videotape monitor. Behind him, on the monitor, the dogfighting continues. Viper said by the end of Vietnam we upped our kill ratio to 13-1. He turns on the lights. We see his audience in F.G. Viper said you're here 'cause you're the top 1% of all naval aviators. The class. 16 young men, 8 flight crews sit at attention. They are trim, fit and confident, high school heroes, college jocks. Viper said you're the elite, the best of the best. We're gonna make you better, because your job is damned important. Another angle, the men. The camera moves among them. Hold on, one of the men, the one who greeted Maverick at the gate, Ice. Viper said. With the tensions in the world today, The potential for confrontation is greater than ever, and carrier pilots will be the first ones there. Air combat excellence is vital. ICE is not looking at the speaker, but, rather, in our direction. Hollywood, a blonde, good-looking pilot, whispers something to him and gestures. ICE is getting the lowdown on someone. The camera moves and we see who that someone is, as Maverick enters the frame. Viper said. Someone once asked me if training men for air combat made the world less safe, flying loaded guns. An accidental confrontation and so forth. Maverick feels the stare of the other man and glances in his direction. Their eyes meet. ICE smiles coldly. Angle Viper. Viper said, my answer is, the dangerous thing is being unprepared. You want trouble, that's what you get when things don't work out, when you can't do what you say you can. When you don't know what you can do. And when your opponents aren't sure either. We are not policy. We don't make policy. Elected officials. Civilians do that. We are the instrument of policy. The tip of the spear. So we had best be sharp. Maverick has turned to look at ICE. ICE glances back in his direction. Maverick looks at the back of the room where guys in blue flight suits stand. They are the instructors. They look relaxed, poised, mean. Goose is looking up front, where Viper has stopped. Goose nudges Maverick. Goose said, "What are you doing?" Maverick said, "Nothing, that's McGowan, that singer, isn't it?" Goose said, "Turn around, pay attention." "What are you doing?" Maverick said, "Just wondering. Who is the best?" He's shocked to find Viper staring right at him, with a killer grin on his face. He feels caught like a naughty schoolboy. Viper said, "Really?" "Yeah, no. We'd like to know who's best too. That's why we've got that plaque on the wall. With the top gun crew from each class. You think maybe your name's gonna be on it?" Maverick knows he's in trouble, considers the social alternatives, then tells him the truth. Maverick said, "Yes, sir." A couple of ohs and ahs from the guys. The instructors stare the challenge at him. He slides lower in his seat. Viper said, "Considering the company you're in, that's a pretty arrogant attitude." Maverick said, "Yes, sir." Viper said, "I like that in a fighter pilot. It's okay to be confident. You have to think you're King Kong to want to try to land on carriers. Just keep in mind the other component of success, teamwork." Viper gathers his notes. The lecture is over. Maverick said, "Yes, sir." Viper turns back for one more thought. Viper, gentlemen, this is about combat. Remember, there are no points for second place. Dismissed. Viper walks out. Maverick finds Goose looking at him, quizzically. Others mill around the plaque. A big, friendly bear of a Rio speaks. "Wolfman said a plaque?" Hollywood said, "It's not the plaque. The winner can get assigned here as instructor. He gets to fight every day." They move closer to examine the names on the plaque. O Club, night. Fast cars in the driveway, fast music blares into the night. It's Wednesday, animal night. Maverick, Goose, Hollywood, and Wolfman walk to the entrance. Walks off bar. Loud music, low ceiling, plaques of the squadrons line the walls. A dancer gyrates on stage, largely ignored by pilots talking with their hands. Every pretty girl in San Diego seems to be here. It's a noisy, rowdy place, a steam releaser for people under pressure. Nevertheless, there is a control to it all. There are none of the usual bar types, just pilots and naval officers. The Ghost Riders enter. The place is on fire, a mob of dancers, flashing lights, blaring hard rock music. Beer flows. Pilots talk flying and hustle girls. Nearby, an S-7 pilot stands by the bar. He knows Goose and speaks loudly for his benefit. A 7 pilot said, you know the fighter pilot's motto? It's better to be dead than to look bad. They grin broadly. Goose replies as they brush past. Goose said, I don't know, Frank, anybody gets off on bombing the shit out of dirt has got to be queer. Goose exchanges friendly punches with the attack pilots. Maverick's introductions and friendly barbs are drowned by the music. Maverick is a bit reserved. He doesn't move among the crowd as naturally as Goose does. Hollywood and Wolfman drift away, searching for quarry. Goose orders beer. He nods toward a tall young man across the room. Goose said, Keller, Black Lion Squadron. I knew him at Pensacola. He's damn good. Maverick said, is there anybody in the Navy you don't know? Goose said, gotta keep track of the competition. Goose suddenly reaches out and grabs a guy moving past. Goose said, Slider, they let you into Top Gun? If you're among the best in the Navy, I tremble for the security of this country. Slider said, why Goose, whose butt did you kiss to get here? Goose said, the list is long, but distinguished. Slider said, so's my Johnson. Goose said, this is Maverick. Smiles good-naturedly, shakes hands with Mav. Slider said, so I've heard. Goose said, who's your pilot? Slider said, Tom Kazanskij. Goose said, no shit. The Iceman. Slider said, Mister to you. Goose said, you think you can stay up with us? Slider said, I think, yeah, we'll show you a thing or two. Goose said, this is Evan Mitchell, he steers the thing. Slider said, so I heard. Steers it pretty close. Sorry to hear about Cougar. He was a good man. Maverick said, still is. Slider said, yeah. That's what I meant. Suddenly, behind them, a flame shoots up. Someone ducks his head and swallows it. The pilot sets an empty glass on the bar. Slider said, what was that? Goose said, flaming hooker. Sort of an institution around here. Or maybe this is the institution, I forget which. It's the house drink. It'll warm the cockles of your heart. And other things depending on where you spill it. He motions to the barmaid and she moves over, sets them up. Goose holds a Demitasse glass. The barmaid pours Drambuie. They look at Goose apprehensively. Goose looks at nearby flyers in camo fatigues. Goose said, you can't show fear in front of Marines, they're like Dobermans, they'll go for your throat, it's instinctive. He takes out match and lights it. Maverick holds his arm. Maverick said, you ever done this before? Goose said, what, been drunk? Sure. Plenty. He downs it all in one gulp, slaps the glass on the bar, still aflame. He stands there, blinking. Slider said, how was it? Goose said, could use a dash more jet fuel. The others are duly impressed. Maverick's gaze falls on ice watching from the end of the bar. Slider takes one, Maverick takes one too, downs it in a gulp. Sundown, taking up the challenge, motions for one. The barmaid pours it. Goose said, careful, don't make an ash of yourself. He tries to drink the flaming concoction. He tries to go for a sip, but it's too close to his face. He tries to tilt the flame away, but that doesn't work. Finally, he goes for the gulp. He burns his lip and misses. He sets his hair on fire. It goes up in a WHOSH. Sundown said, yow. Goose said, Mayday. Down in flames. He throws a beer in Sundown's face, quenching the fire. Sundown blinks through the beer. Sundown said, thanks, I needed that. Hollywood said, you guys are not only crazy, you're dangerous. Ice comes up from the end of the bar. He motions the barmaid for another, it comes. Goose lights it. He gulps it down, cool as hell. Ice said, frat boys. He walks away. Slider goes after him. Maverick said, who is that guy? Hollywood said, that's Kazanskij. Goose said no shit. That why they call him Ice? Hollywood said nope. It's the way he flies ice cold. No mistakes. Wears you down. After enough time, you just get bored and frustrated, you do something stupid, and he's got you. Maverick moves in Ice's direction. He passes Wolfman dancing with a girl with bright purple fingernails. Angled dance floor. Girl said, why do you all have such funny names? Wolfman said, you gotta have a call sign that's just your own, never changes, you have to recognize it immediately. Then, if someone shouts wolf, break left. You react right away. Girl said, why do they call you Wolf? Wolfman said, oh, I don't know. Goose comes up with his arm around a girl. Goose said, hey Mav, this is Sally. She doesn't believe a word I say. Tell her I'm married, will you? Maverick said, yeah, he's married, but then again, that's not dead. Sally laughs and tries to pull Goose back toward the dance floor. Something in Maverick's eyes makes him hang back with his partner. Angle, the dance floor dancer's girl said, could I get a call sign? Wolfman said, well, I don't know. That depends. Girl said, on what? Wolfman said, well, it doesn't just happen, you gotta do something famous. Girl said, like what? Wolfman said, oh, I'll think of something. Maverick smiles at this, but seems on edge. He watches a few pretty girls enter and eye the pilots in their flight suits, then turns and walks up to Ice, who sits, drinking with Slider. Maverick walks over to him. Ice notices Slider's attention going to Maverick. He turns and grins at him. Iceman said, figured it out yet? Maverick said, figured out what? Iceman said, who is the best? Maverick said, nope. Iceman said, need a hint? Maverick said, I think I can work it out on my own. Iceman said, you like to work alone. I've heard that about you. Maverick said, I've heard of you, too. You were in 124 with Bargamian. Iceman said, and you were with Cougar. He was my roommate in flight school. Maverick said, he's a good man. Iceman said, the best. Slider said, you must have soloed under a lucky star. First the MiG, then you slide into Cougar's place. Goose said, it's not Cougar's place. It's ours. I said, what do you think it was? Was it that MiG contact that did it? Goose said, did what? I said, got you here. Goose said, we're here because we're the best flyers in the wing. Not because of some MiG encounter. Slider said, what luck. Guys fly their whole career without seeing a MiG up close, you're famous. I said, you mean notorious. Something in the way he says it. It's not quite a joke, more an insult. Maverick's about to take the whole conversation too far when something. Almione catches his eye. She catches quite a few eyes in this room. She is very pretty and she's walking in on the arm of a commander. Maverick turns back, but the moment has passed. Ice dismisses him with a nod and weak smile. Goose pulls him away. Maverick said, what do these guys think, I made Cougar quit? Goose said, pay no attention to it. They're just trying to rattle you. It's all psychological. Sit down. And drink. He deposits Maverick at a chair by a table where other pilots cluster watching and listening to Bugs shoot down his wristwatch. Maverick broods. Bugs said, we were just really diving down and by then we were right over downtown Haiphong. It was some great shit. Jack says, what are you doing? What am I doing, Jack? He says, what are you doing? I said, I'm rolling in, Jack. Bugs, we're at 3,200 feet. Oh shit, we were like zoom. So we scraped down at 100 feet right over downtown Hanoi. Oh shit, god damn it. And blowing down the river. And so once we were there we let down to about 50 feet just going down the river and Jack says, Bugs. Don't ever do that again. Okay, right, Jack, I'll never do that again. Maverick pays little or no attention. He broods and drinks. Suddenly, Hollywood nudges him. He turns. Maverick said, What is it? Hollywood said, Target passing. Check your 6. Maverick said, Never mind mine. Check hers. They turn. Long legs, great ass, beautiful. Hollywood said her 6 is a 10. A turn to engage. His POV across a crowded room. Maverick sees a stranger, and somehow he knows even then. Wolfman turns, sees her walking too. Wolfman said bogey, 9 o'clock level. Sundown said 9:30. Bogey? You presume that hostile? Hollywood said, Well, we should contact and check it out. She has turned toward them. She passes by. They start to make a move for her. But just then she finds her date at the bar, a distinguished man with captain stripes. Their smiles freeze and they slide back in their chairs. Maverick can't stop looking at her. After a while, the intensity of his gaze draws her attention. She feels him. She is nodding and smiling to her date, but her eyes scan the room like radar. A warning tone goes off in his brain. Dalu as they lock on him. He feels that thrill of excitement and fear you get when you know you're targeted in someone's scope. Her eyes hold on him for a long moment, long enough, and then sweep by the rest of the room. She turns her attention back to the captain and laughs at something he says. Over in a corner, Goose chats up a couple of San Diego girls. Goose said the family unit, that's the most important thing. It's the only thing you can count on. I'm married. Did I tell you that? First girl said 4 times. We don't believe you. Goose said I've been married since I was 18. Why don't you believe me? Second girl said, Because you don't look married. First girl said you're not even wearing a ring. Goose said, I take it off when I'm chasing women. It's the only honorable thing to do. Angle, Maverick. He's half listening to bugs rattle on. His eyes are drawn back to the woman. He tries not to stare. She seems to know a lot of people in the club. He looks away. Hollywood is chatting up a girl with a sincerity that cannot be taught. His line is just as polished as his appearance. Hollywood said you don't think about death up there, but you think a lot about the danger. One mistake and you're a smoking hole in the ground. Girl said I never knew it was so dangerous. Hollywood said oh yeah, it makes everything down here more meaningful. You feel a certain intensity of life, and you want to grab onto every moment. Maverick looks up at the bar again. A shock. She is staring right at him, intensely, as her date whispers something in her ear. She notices him, staring back, quickly looks away, embarrassed. She says something to the man. He nods and turns away as someone else grabs his attention. The woman now wouldn't look this way for anything. She picks up her purse from the bar and walks through the crowd and out of the room. Impulsively, Maverick's up, he follows. Hallway outside the bar. He breaks out, looks around, doesn't see her. Someone disappears around a corner. He moves after. Corner, a door slams shut. Impulsively, before he realizes what he is doing, he's through it. Women's room. A feminine gasp. He should have looked at the sign on the door. The realization of where he is hits him too late. She is standing by the mirror, with her makeup out, looking back at him. He's not quite sure what to do. A hasty retreat would be appropriate, if embarrassing. What the hell, he is a fighter pilot. He just walks right over to her, no idea what he will say. She's got her lipstick out, twisting it. She looks over at him with an amused smile. Charlie said long cruise, was it? She leans over the sink, puts on lipstick, sees his eyes cover her. Charlie said anything I can do to help, Lieutenant? Maverick said lots of things. She laughs. He is sort of attractive, but there are other girls in the room, She doesn't want to be too encouraging, she tries not to grin at his embarrassment. Charlie said, I'll bet. Maverick said, anything I can do for you? She laughs again, doesn't know what it is, it could be chemical, but she's instinctively attracted. Charlie said, yeah. Hold this. It might be safer. She hands him a makeup mirror. Starts redoing her lipstick. He just stares at her, she looks up at him, then back to her warp. Finally, when it comes, it is cool and amused. Charlie said, now I know why all the girls come here. They know how horny you guys get. But this is ridiculous. Maverick said, it's not that. Mock anger. She's toying with him. Charlie said, it isn't? Maverick said, well, it is. It is that, too. Charlie said, that's a big comfort to me. Maverick said, I could be, too. Charlie said, how so? Maverick said, save you from a big mistake with that other guy. Charlie said, and on to a bigger one with you? Maverick said, yeah, most likely. Charlie said, was there ever a girl who didn't like fighter pilots? Maverick said, I heard of one once. She laughs again, shakes her head, another cowboy. She gently takes the compact out of his hands, snaps it closed. Charlie said, I'm really flattered, Lieutenant, but I don't go out with pilots. Maverick said, then what are you doing here? Three pretty blondes enter and look at Maverick quizzically, but not without interest. Charlie said, I think the question is, what are you? She tries to keep a straight face as she walks out of the room. The other girls look at him expectantly. A beat. He just stands there, then realizes he's holding her lipstick. Maverick said, hi. I'm here to talk about a new concept in cosmetics. Walks off bar. She returns, spots the captain, motioning to her. Maverick enters, goes to the other end of the bar. He orders a drink. It comes. He drinks it, pays for it, moves off toward the door. Someone backs into his path, he moves quickly and bumps into someone else, her. Charlie said, sorry. She sees it's him. Maverick said, my fault. Should have watched where I was going. Her hand goes to his collar. She adjusts his insignia. She smiles. Charlie said, where's your wingman? Who's watching your six? Maverick said, nobody, I guess. One final adjustment. Charlie said, too bad. She breaks the spell abruptly, turns away. Charlie said, see you around. Maverick finds his voice. Maverick said, can I walk you out? She turns back to him, a smile. Charlie said, I'm with someone. O club, later that night. P.O.V. From a car in the parking lot, we see Charlie and the captain leave the club. They walk directly toward us and stop. She turns, says something polite, a peck on the cheek. He turns away. A dome light briefly illuminates the interior of the car as a door opens. It rocks slightly as someone gets in. Charlie turns back and walks over, taking her keys out. She opens the door to the car and gets in. Car night. She starts the car and pulls away. Suddenly, a figure sits up in the back. Maverick said, I thought he'd never leave. Charlie said, yow. Startled, she nearly drives off the road. She turns to him, startled. Charlie said, you. What are you doing here? Maverick said, everybody's got to be somewhere. Charlie said, what if Captain Dawson had come with me? Maverick said, it would have been really embarrassing. Charlie said, how did you know this was my car? Maverick said, simple deduction. It's fast. It's pretty. Sleek and stylish, it's your color, matches your lipstick. Charlie said, that's all. Maverick said, and I asked someone. Charlie said, you think you're pretty smart. Maverick said, I think I'm in love. Guard gate. She pulls up at the guard gate, a Marine corporal is on duty. He sees the pretty girl pull up and stop, leans over helpfully. Marine said, can I help you, ma'am? She smiles even more sweetly. Charlie said, I don't know, Corporal. Can you do anything about this lunatic? The car door swings open. Maverick gets out. The car roars away. He stands in the glare of the spotlight, rocking on his heels, looking across at the guard, who snaps to attention and stares holes in his chest. Top Gun next morning. Two guys in flight suits run downstairs past stencils of MiG kills on walls, then down corridor. Flex said, not so fast, my head. They skid to stop outside a door. Hangar. Ground crews work on planes in BG Jester in middle of lecture. Door bursts open. Sundown and Flex skid to a halt when they see whole class looking at them. Jester said, who are you? Sundown said, I'm Sundown. Jester said, yeah, right. You're late. Viper breaks in, indicating Flex. Viper said, and who are you? Flex said, Flex. Viper said, Flex. You don't look like Flex to me. You call that muscle? Doesn't look like muscle. Looks like pork. They laugh. Even Sundown has to laugh, scratching his chest. Viper said, what are you laughing at? You're fungus. Stop scratching. Sundown. Fungus said, fungus. Pork said, don't make an issue of it, it'll stick. Fungus said, it'll stick anyway. Viper turns away. Viper said, now to continue. In this class we will be dealing with F5s and F4s as our MiG simulators. Technically the F5 does not have the thrust-to-weight ratio of the MiG-21, it also does not bleed energy below 300 knots like the MiG-21 does. The A4 does not turn as well as the MiG-17 but has significantly better visibility. Maverick looks back to his notes. SFX footsteps, door opening. Viper looks up to back of room door. Viper said, hi, Charlie. Good, our tag ref's here. Charlie's the most qualified to get into P-subs and curves, and VN diagrams. Maverick turns to see the tag ref walk forward. Maverick stares at her as she passes without acknowledging him. He is surprised, embarrassed. Viper said, Charlotte Blackwood, codename Charlie, not your ordinary tag ref. Charlie has her Ph.D. in astrophysics, she's a civilian contractor so you don't salute her, or anything else. Is that clear? She walks to the front and starts her presentation. She talks about something very technical, arcane. MiG tactics, technology. As the briefing rattles on, Maverick reacts to her. Goose glances over at him. He, too, recognizes the girl. He looks at his partner. Maverick feels his stare. Charlie said, hello, I think I have some new data for you. Now a MiG-21 has a problem with the inverted flight tanks. It won't do a negative G pushover. Even below 1 G, they risk a flameout. Operationally, they will do a 0 to 1 G only. A snicker from the audience. She hesitates momentarily, goes on. Charlie said the latest intelligence shows that the most they will do in operation is 1. Is there something wrong, Lieutenant? Maverick said, I don't think you're all together. Right about the MiG, that is. She stops, some of the pilots look at him. Viper glares. Charlie said, I beg your pardon. Maverick said, no, I beg yours. But I don't think you're right on that. Charlie said, why not? Maverick said, I saw one. Charlie said, you saw a MiG-21? Maverick said, I saw a MiG do a 4G negative dive. Charlie said, where did you see that? Maverick said, it's classified. Nervous buzz in the room. Viper goes rigid. Charlie can't believe it. Charlie said, it's what? Maverick said, it's classified. Like Hollywood says, I could tell you, but then I'd have to kill you. Pork stifles a laugh, the others chuckle. Viper is embarrassed. Viper said, Maverick. She stops Viper with a glance. Charlie said, it's all right. She can handle it. She is very cool, not overbearing. She says it calmly. She doesn't want to embarrass him any more than he is, but she has to get the facts straight. Charlie said, Lieutenant, I have a top secret clearance. The Pentagon sees to it that I know more than you. Maverick said, not in this case. Charlie said, you saw a MiG push -4G, Maverick said, yes, ma'am. Charlie said, where were you? Maverick said, on his 6. Little stifled laughs. Charlie said he was in a 4G negative dive and you were on his 6? Maverick said, yes, ma'am, at first. Then I was directly above him. She stares at him for a moment, then she has him. She goes for the kill. Charlie said, if you were directly above him, how did you see him? Maverick said, I was inverted. A real buzz in the room. Ice laughs audibly. Charlie said, you were in a 4G inverted dive with a MiG-21? At what range? Maverick said 2. Charlie said 2 miles. Maverick said 2 meters. Chuckles, barely suppressed. Goose pipes up to deflect attention. Goose said 1.5, actually. I got a Polaroid. Charlie said, Lieutenant. Maverick said, ma'am? Charlie said, what were you doing there? Maverick said, giving him the bird. Open laughter. She thinks it's at her. She grows red. Charlie said, the what? Maverick said, you know. The finger. He shows her, but she can handle this. Charlie said, so you're the reason those salt talks failed. The room breaks into laughter. At him. Now he grows red. Goose puts his hand on Maverick's arm, shakes his head as if to say, let it go, pal, she got you. She looks at Viper. He doesn't know whether to laugh or cry. He knows there's something here he doesn't control. Viper said, Lieutenant. Goose said, it's just like he says, sir. Viper said, I don't care. Corridor outside lecture hall. She walks away. He runs up and stops her. Maverick said, why didn't you tell me you were a tagref? She studies him coolly for a moment, like a specimen. Charlie said, it never came up. Maverick said, you let me make a fool of myself. Charlie said, you seemed determined to do that anyway. Why didn't you tell me you were a famous MiG insulter? Maverick said, would it have made a difference? Charlie said, no. Maverick said, what would? Charlie said, you know, I'm assigned to the school. I see 16 new hotshots every 8 weeks. Your attention is flattering, but not really productive. Why don't you keep your mind on flying? She reaches over and aligns his collar insignia. Charlie said, why can't you keep this straight? She smiles at him and walks away. Maverick turns, sees the others sizing him up. Most of them grin. Maverick moves down the corridor past the CO's office. Viper leans against the door sill. He lights a pipe, laconically eyes Maverick. His tone gives away nothing, like an errant probe eliciting a response. Viper said, Maverick. Where'd you get that call sign? Maverick said, runs in the family, sir. Viper said, your father was Marvin Mitchell. Maverick said, yes, sir. Viper said, a good man. Good flyer. Viper turns away. Maverick said, yes, sir, thank you, sir. Maverick watches him for a beat. He's been tested, but he's not sure how or why. He turns to catch up with Goose and the others. Sky later. At 28,000 feet, the two planes circle each other, going in opposite directions. As they jockey for position, they snap past each other like ends of bullwhips. The Earth spins, the horizon appears and disappears. With each hard turn, Maverick and Goose can be heard grunting to keep blood in their brains, to keep from passing out. The fight is hard, physical, and exhausting. The extreme G-forces, 6.5, flatten them against their seats, causing their heads to weigh over 100 pounds. Maverick strains to turn his head and track the other jet as it streaks past at Mach 1. Maverick said I've lost him, where is he? Goose said on your 6, coming hard. 400. Losing airspeed. He's on your 6 and closing fast. Hard left. Hard left. Maverick jerks the stick left, and the F-14 takes an astonishing turn. Jester roars past into a wide arc. Goose said great move. Great. Maverick said he should have had me. Goose said take it down. Let's bug out of here. Call for a draw. Maverick said no way. I'll nail him this time. Going vertical. The plane explodes into afterburner, rocketing toward space. Jester is left in direct line with the sun, and his canopy is sprayed with a blinding glare. Going ballistic is dangerous. The plane flies like a bullet, obeying the laws of physics, not the pilot's touch on control surfaces. The ballistic call warns other aircraft that he is, for the moment, out of control. Goose said he's blind, you got him. Jester said NOJOY. No joy. Where are you? I've lost sight. Goose said. He's out of energy. You got control? Unload. The F-14 peels over the egg, in a backward dive. It rockets down the outside, gaining energy. Over the roar of jets, the scream of the wind, Goose shouts data, but it is muffled, a distant voice in a typhoon. Through the canopy, we see Jester, and he hangs in the air like a sparrow, in the path of a falcon. Pilot's POV HUD in windscreen, a diamond in a box. Maverick lines up the diamond with Jester, and we hear the high-pitched tone beeping. Jester said. We're below the hard deck. Fight's off. Goose said he's right. We're at 10,000. Maverick said no way. I got you, sucker. You're going down. Jester maneuvers, but Maverick keeps him in the gunsight. The beeping is louder, faster. Maverick said in the envelope. Fox 2 missile shot. You're gone, Jester, dead. Goose. God damn. We beat him. There is an edge of anger in Jester's voice. Jester said. Roger Fox 2. Get your butts above the hard deck. Return to base immediately. They are brought up short for a moment, then the thrill of victory gets the best of them. Goose lets out a war whoop. The F-14 sweeps up, rolls into an Immelman. Maverick said we did it. Goose said look, Ma, top of the world. Miramar landing pattern. Maverick's Tomcat brakes hard and high, rolls over on its side, wings perpendicular to the ground. Goose sees the world go sideways. 45. Goose said a little high on the left, don't you think? Maverick said right. He aileron rolls another quarter turn. Inverted, they pass right down the runway. Goose looks out and insouciantly watches the world go by at 300 knots, upside down. Goose said right. Much better. What do you call this? Maverick said it's a victory roll. Goose said I wouldn't call it victory. It's more like self-immolation. Control tower. Controllers work. Officers watch the landing activity. One old salt turns from the coffee machine, a cup of steaming Java microns from his lips. A roar. Va-boom. The Tomcat roars over. He yelps as hot coffee flies all over his shirt. 52C. Maverick's F-14. They complete the roll, bank left, zoom right by the tower, level with the observation window. F-14 foot SPOV. Controllers look out at the F-14, mouths drop open. Angle Goose he waves jauntily. Goose said hi there. How you doing in there? Mav. At one.
Goose said hi there. How ya doing in there? Mav.
Goose said hi there. How you doing in there? Mav. At one point I did want a Navy career. Maverick said, come on, relax. Goose said, you see all those guys with gold on their shoulders. Oh, no, I think that was Johnson, air boss of the Kitty Hawk. Maverick said, come on, we beat an instructor. How many times in your life do you get to do a victory roll? Goose said, just once, if they take your plane away. They roll out, break over the runway. Flight line. Maverick and Goose walk by parking Tomcat's. Ice is unstrapping, Slider is climbing down. Ice looks at Maverick, says one word. Iceman said, cowboys. Maverick keeps walking. Goose hangs back. Slider said, nice. Always a good idea to show up your instructors. He nods toward Jester, glaring at them from his A4. Goose indicates the back seat of the Tomcat. Goose said, hey, see any controls back there? And anyway, we beat the son of a bitch. He turns and runs to catch up with Maverick. Locker room, day. Pilots half undressed. Maverick and Goose enter the room, carrying their helmets. The students look up at them, and Goose suddenly flashes a thumbs-up sign with a grin. The students react with clenched fists, ad-libs, high-fives, victory punches. Wolfman said, you won? Maverick said, didn't everybody? Oh, they all go oh and laugh. Wolfman said, no, we got our butts kicked. Hollywood said. 30 seconds. That's all it took to blow us out of the sky. Wolfman said, we went like this, he went like that. I say to Hollywood, where'd he go? Hollywood says, where'd who go? Hollywood said, and he's laughing. Right over the radio, he's laughing at us. Attention turns to the doorway as Ice and Slider enter. Ice gives a brief dramatic pause, then flashes thumbs up and smiles. The students celebrate Ice's win. Ice handles the attention with the easy composure of one who is used to it. Maverick ignores him and begins to peel out of his G-suit. Ice moves toward his locker. Goose said, you won. Congratulations. Hollywood, Maverick and Goose won too. Ice talks into his locker. Ice said, that's not what I heard. Goose said, we won. Ice turns back, stares them down, then turns back into his locker, dismissing them. Ice said, below the hard deck doesn't count. You guys are the second team, aren't you? Maverick gets up, moves to him, starts to say something, when Jester breaks into the room. Jester said, Maverick, Goose. Viper's office. Now. Topgun corridor outside Co's office. Screaming and yelling. A lot of screaming and yelling, muffled by the door. Ante-room. Enlisted yeomen and chiefs go about their clerical duties in acute embarrassment mixed with curiosity. Behind the CO's door, someone is screaming his head off. Boom! The door bursts open. Boom! The door bursts open. A big, brawling officer, Johnson, the air boss, blasts out, nearly smashing into a female petty officer. She almost spills her coffee. Johnson looks right and left in fury too strong for words. He looks like he wants to smash something. They move out of his way, but he just blasts through the door and disappears down the hall. The enlisted men turn to Viper's office. Their POV. Jester stands inside stone-faced. Maverick and Goose are rigid. Viper, with excess calm deliberation, softly walks over, grasps the doorknob. He glances in this direction. The glance is totally without expression, and even scarier for that. Angle enlisted. In a flash, each man finds something totally engrossing in his work, or something terribly important to do elsewhere. Slowly, steadily, Viper swings his door closed. Point 54. Viper's office. He moves over to face Maverick. There is a silence like after a train wreck, nothing but the popping of sprung metal and the low gasp of escaping steam. Viper speaks quietly, like a funeral director consoling the living. Makes you want to scream. Viper said, well, that about covers the flyby. Jester almost breaks into a grin. Viper said, now, in addition, you broke 2 major rules of engagement. And that's not good. Maverick gives no response. Viper continues. Viper said, Lieutenant Candela lost sight of you and called no joy. You failed to respond. He stops and looks at Maverick. A beat. Maverick finally nods. Viper said, why? Maverick is exhausted. It's been a long, rough day. His voice is a hoarse whisper. Maverick said, I had him in view. I was peeling over the egg, into a dive. He saw me when I moved in for the kill. There wasn't any danger. Viper said. Is that how you remember it? Goose said, yes, sir. By the time we could respond, we were diving right into his view. Viper is not satisfied with the answer, but he moves on. Viper said the hard deck for this hop was 10,000 feet. Jester, at what point did you call off the fight? Jester said just below 10,000. Viper said, but you continued to fight. Another pause, another grudging nod. Viper said, why? Maverick said, we weren't below for more than 10 seconds. There was no danger. I had the shot. I took it. Viper said the rules of engagement are not flexible. They exist for your safety. You will obey them. Is that clear? Maverick thinks about continuing the discussion, but the thought is momentary. He quickly cuts his losses, gives Viper what he thinks he wants. He is just on the cusp of too sincere. Maverick said, yes, sir, perfectly clear. I guess I was. Just a little over-enthusiastic. Viper measures him for a moment, then lets it go. Viper said, I guess you were. Dismissed. Maverick and Goose leave the room. Viper looks at Jester, picks up Maverick's fitness report. Doesn't read it, looks back at Jester. Jester said, I don't know what to tell you, Skip. Viper said, tell me one thing. Jester waits. Viper said, if you had to go into combat, would you want him with you? Jester turns, walks slowly around the room. The walls are lined with pictures, planes and pilots' history. There are MiG killers, attack squadrons, ground personnel. There's one picture of a Phantom in flight with the backseater mooning the camera. Other pictures show carriers, famous flyers, previous COs. Finally, Jester replies. Jester said, yep. Viper slaps shut the fitness report. Jester said he's seat of the pants. Completely unpredictable, nothing by the book. All over the sky. But I don't know, Skip, he's really got something. Viper said, yeah, we get one of these guys every damn class. Maverick. He throws the report on the desk. Jester said, yup, a wild pony. Cockpit, night. Wind roar, jet whine. Hollywood and Wolfman are being thrown about as Hollywood fights the stick. Wolfman said. No. No. Look out, you lost it. They depart flight. Tumble. The horizon swings wildly as they go into flat spin. Wolfman said, we're dead. A face appears at 12,000 feet, right in front of their canopy. Goose's eyes bug at them. Goose said, man, you guys gooned it. Your laser butts are scattered across Kansas. Hollywood said. Come on. I died enough for one night. Cockpit. They climb out of the simulator, a cockpit sprung on movable rams, surrounded by a dome on which video images are projected. As they climb down, Maverick and Goose climb up into the cockpit to take their place. Goose said, have you guys ever considered career counseling? Simulator control room, filled with computers, tape transports and video screen representations of computer-generated combat. Now Maverick flies it as Charlie and other techs watch. Cockpit. Maverick flies the heck out of it. It's real. It lurches and bumps, the noises and sights look real. He gets on the tail of a MiG. It brakes, he brakes, then what he does is just too fast to follow. It screams around in a turn. Suddenly, there is a WHUMMP alarms, the lights come on. Goose said what happened. Tech said what did you do in there? Goose said what did you do? You broke it. Computer analysis room. Maverick and Goose enter. The text cluster around the keyboards trying to reprogram, to figure out what went wrong. Charlie said you flew it off the template. Nobody ever did that before. Goose said that's what she said last night. She stares at Goose until he grins and moves off to give the others his valuable opinions on how to reprogram the computers. Charlie said what is it about you? He just shrugs at her and smiles. Maverick said what would you say, too fast, too quick. Charlie said and far too aggressive. Maverick said it is combat. Every second counts. Charlie said the hottest moves in the world aren't gonna help you if you wind up alone. Your wingman's got to be able to follow you. Trust you. Know that he can depend on you. It's more than just fancy flying. Maverick said well, what you need, what you have to keep looking for, what you want to get is a wingman who can stay up with you. Who can match you move for move. Then you've got something. I'm sorry. Charlie said for what? Maverick said that stuff about the MiG. I was out of line. Charlie said apology acknowledged. Maverick said is that all? Charlie said what else do you want? Maverick said you. Charlie said there you go with those moves again. Maverick said too aggressive? Charlie said I don't mix with the boys. I work here. Let's keep it professional. Maverick said I'm special. Charlie said. Yes. I'll give you that. Maverick said give me a break, I'm asking you out. Charlie said I can't. Maverick said I thought there was something. That night in the club. Charlie said Lieutenant. Maverick said Evan. Or Maverick. Charlie said Maverick, you know the rules of engagement. Maverick said. The what? Charlie said someone comes up hot on your six, what do you do? Maverick said what are you talking about? Charlie said you turn into him, check him out, identify friend or foe. Maverick said. I'm not your foe. Charlie said, and if he's harmless, you disengage. Maverick said harmless. Charlie said Maverick said what if he's not? Charlie said you have to shoot him down, if he's smart, he'll turn away before that happens. Maverick said harmless. Nobody ever called me harmless before. Charlie said and probably never again. It's nothing personal. It's just, I know a lot of pilots. Maybe I'm immune. Maverick said don't worry, I'm a new strain. And I don't give up. Everything I've ever wanted I've had to work like hell for. Well, how about it? Charlie said how about what? Maverick said how about anything you want to do. Charlie said hard to argue with that, isn't it? Maverick said a date. Coffee. A drink, a walk in the park. Charlie said what about the plane? Maverick said what plane? Charlie said most of them invite me to sit in the cockpit, play with the levers. And things. Maverick said well, get used to it. Charlie said used to what? Maverick said I'm different. Charlie said I'm starting to sense that now. Maverick said you're slow to engage. But you'll come around. She pushes him out the door. Maverick said let's make it at 8. Charlie said make what? Maverick said anything. Charlie said okay, anything. Just go. I've gotta work. She closes the door, turns back to her screen. Beach La Jolla Day. A day off. Pilots, other personnel are enjoying a day at the beach. There are bikinis, and beer, sunfishes, and water skiing. The annual over-the-line tournament is in progress. The team from the Teddy Kennedy Driving School is whipping another known as Scum de Terra. The pilots are doing pretty well at blowing off steam. Undersea. Undulating sea grass. Muffled hiss of the surf. A pretty fish comes into view. A spear shoots through it and nails it to the ocean floor. Shoreline. Two figures pop to the surface and wade into the beach. Maverick holds the wriggling fish. Charlie is repulsed. She pulls off her mask and snorkel, follows him into shore. The beach. They flop down. He drops the fish in front of her, sees her reaction at watching its death throes. Charlie said, "Why'd you do that?" Maverick said, "I had the shot." She looks at him for a moment, then turns away, fiddles with her mask. Maverick said, "It dies. We live." Charlie said, "You're an animal." Maverick said, "That's true. What are you?" Charlie said, "I don't enjoy watching things suffer." He smashes the fish on a rock. "It is still not." Charlie said, "No." Maverick said, "It's not suffering anymore." Charlie said, "You're horrible." Maverick said, "You're not, 'cause you eat frozen meatballs? Things die. Every time you breathe, you kill millions of tiny organisms. Every time you eat, something had to die." Charlie said, "You don't have to kill it." Maverick said, "Somebody does. It's more honest this way. You do your own dirty work." Charlie said, "You ever think about killing another human being?" Maverick said, "About as much as they think about killing me." Charlie said, "Does it bother you?" Maverick said, "They know the rules. That's the deal. That's why you're up there. It's him or me. That's the price of admission. It bothers you, why? You're part of it. Everybody dies. Most people don't get to die for something. You don't want to confront it, do you? You want to keep it all clean, cerebral. Velocity vectors, wing load diagrams, you ever been up? Charlie said, "Flying?" Maverick, you use your mind to keep things at a distance. You ever just let go? She doesn't answer. Maverick said, "You know what really scares me? Living too long. Losing my hair and my teeth, and my guts and my wind. And my brains sitting in a room with my hands in my lap, watching daytime TV." Charlie said, "You don't believe any of this. You don't think you'll ever die." Maverick said, "That's it, of course. When I'm up there and doing it, I'm cheating it every second. I'm subverting all laws, gravity, whatever. I'm skating the edge of it." Charlie said, "Winston Churchill." Maverick said, "What?" Charlie said what he said. There's nothing so exhilarating as being shot at without result. Maverick said, "All you've got is one life. I guess it's worth about the same to everybody. You ever see an old woman after her husband has died? And the meaningless years of decline stretch ahead. When you're in the air and doing something really dangerous, you can look ahead. Maybe 10 seconds. That's your whole future. That's as far as it goes. But imagine what those seconds are worth." Charlie said, "What if you kill yourself? Think of everything you'll miss." Maverick, "There is lots of stuff I don't know about. Fine wine. Great art. The opera. I guess if I live long enough, I'll get to it. If I don't, I'll never miss it." Charlie said, "Are you really that brave?" Maverick said, "I watched my mother die. Cancer. She had a long time to think about it. They say you reach an agreement with death. Come to accept the fact that pretty soon you won't be here. I didn't see that. She was very than I am. You go up there, there isn't time to think. If you make a mistake, you're just a smudge on the ground. Simplifies funeral arrangements. Charlie said it's just as I thought. Maverick said what? Charlie said you're totally insane. Maverick said thanks very much. Care for some sushi? The other end of the beach, later a killer volleyball game in progress. Maverick and Charlie wander toward it, talking softly to themselves. Goose runs up and grabs him away. Goose said come on, we're NEXT. Maverick said what? Goose said come on, I got over $6 on the line. Maverick looks up and sees the other two-man team, the victors, waiting on the other side of the net for them. Of course it had to be Ice and Slider. Charlie sits and watches as the game gets immediately out of hand. In moments, Maverick and Ice rotate to forward positions directly opposite each other across the net. Other revelers turn to watch as it degenerates to more than a game. Maverick glances at Charlie. He seems uncomfortable, but irrevocably drawn into the confrontation. She says nothing, but her attitude is apparent. Back to the game, Slider and Goose set them up, as they try to spike the ball in each other's face. The final PINT. Up over the middle. They both go up, Maverick smashes, Ice blocks, but the ball sails away, off his forearm. For the first time ever, Maverick beats him. He looks over at Charlie, she is staring out to sea. She looks back at him and he's suddenly had enough competition. They call for another game, but Maverick turns away. Goose said come on, come on. It's double or nothing. We're talking $12 American, here. Maverick said I've had enough for now. He grabs Charlie and his gear. Maverick said come on. Charlie said where? Maverick said you want to go ballistic? Charlie said I don't know. I don't like being out of control. He looks back at Ice, bouncing the ball and staring at him. Maverick said stick with me, you'll get used to it. Desert. The bike doing 130, 140, 150 miles per hour. Charlie is unfazed. He turns to check her out, she smiles back at him. Cut 2. Rustic adobe cantina, sunset. The bike is parked in front. Montage on locked off camera to show the passage of time. The lattice terrace, streaks of light. Maverick is feeding a dog. Charlie sits on a rail watching him. Maverick said I always wanted to fly. Ever since I first saw a jet. I wanted to fly jets, then I wanted F-14s, then I wanted to fly off carriers, then I wanted Top Gun. Charlie said, and now? Maverick said, and now I want you. Charlie said you always get what you want? Maverick said I don't know yet. Dissolve. He puts money in jukebox. She watches him, eye to eye contact. The music comes on. Charlie said I want it understood. Maverick said anything. Charlie said no fooling on base, no signs, no comments, no talk. By anyone. Maverick said why? Charlie said I'm a professional. You guys are in my line of work. A long beat. He looks at her, makes the pact, like a sailor. Maverick said acknowledged. She looks at his eyes for any sign of a put-on insincerity. Finally he smiles at her, but she can read it. It's time. She moves in and covers his grin with a gentle kiss. Dissolve. To them sitting within striking distance at a table. The dog sleeps beneath. Their eyes are now locked. The electricity almost arcs between them. TCU scrub pine table. Their fingertips touch. Tight shot. Waist to head. Holding, close together, swaying in time with the music. Their lips gently brush. Dade Desert tax range. An F-14 swoops over the desert, roars over an antenna complex. The jet in its missile rack, it carries a TACTS transponder. The TACTS range is an area of the desert completely enveloped by computerized radar. The computers calculate a number of aircraft's positions and velocities by means of transponders in the ships and ground stations that talk to each other thousands of times a second. Using this system, it is possible to track aerial combat instantaneously and give pilots directions and also to play back the combats for analysis. TAC's range trailer, day the double viewing screens are 5 feet high, high technology, state-of-the-art. On the screens are computer-animated figures showing jets from various angles. Flight data is displayed. The operators punch buttons to show various points of view of the battle, a pilot's POV, God's POV from overhead, a long-range POV, showing topography of the landscape and height of mountains. Students and instructors sit on chairs in the peanut gallery, facing Viper at the front of the room. Charlie is in the back. Viper said the bandit has good position right here. All right, freeze here. The moment of choice, Maverick is defensive. He has a chance to bug out right here. Better to retire and save your plane than force a bad position. Stay in the diamond another 3 seconds, the bandit will blow you out of the sky, make a hard right, select zone 5. You can extend and escape. You make a bad choice. Roll forward. The computerized rendering resumes on the screen. Viper said you perform a split S. That's the last thing you should do. The bandit is right on your tail. Freeze there, the bandit has you in his gunsight. What were you thinking here, Maverick? Maverick said I wasn't thinking. I just did it. Viper said big gamble with a $30 million plane. Maverick said. No guts, no glory. It's a joke. Viper doesn't like that answer at all, but some of the students laugh and mockingly whistle at the cockiness of it. They give Maverick the high sign. Slider leans forward to him. Slider said your guts. His glory. Maverick slumps down in his chair under Viper's glare. The computer rendering rolls forward again. He glances back at Charlie. She smiles sympathetically at him. Viper said unfortunately, the gamble worked, or you might have learned something. The bandit never gets a clean shot. Maverick makes an aggressive vertical move here, comes over the top and defeats the bandit with a missile shot. The encounter was a victory, but we've shown it as an example of what not to do. ICE is NEXT. Another computerized rendering comes up on the screen. Hollywood leans close to Maverick and speaks quietly. Hollywood said gutsiest move I ever saw. Maverick gives him a small nod of appreciation. Viper said, and the dumbest. Okay, look at this. It's textbook. ICE takes control of the battle immediately. He never gives the bandit a chance to take the offensive. An early turn here, excellent. He goes for the jugular, and it's over just that quick. Let's run that again, it's exactly how it should be done. Miramar runway, day. In full flight gear, carrying their helmets and trying to stuff food down their gullets, the students stumble toward the flight line. Hollywood takes a bit of a sandwich and makes a face. Goose said, what the hell is this? Maverick said, don't chew it, you won't have it that long. Easier to clean the cockpit if it comes up in big chunks. Jester yells from the distance. Jester said, on the run. Let's go. Move it. Goose said, a fighter pilot's lunch. A hot dog and a puke. They scurry ahead, overtaking the others. Hollywood said, I was a victim of circumstance. Goose said, they should have warned you about that one. Hollywood said she's kinky for flight suits, said that she'd never seen so many zippers, played with them all night. The noise alone kept me up. Goose said, what did you do? Hollywood said, pulled left, rolled out, underneath. Wolfman said, it's kind of ironic. All you guys have women troubles and I don't. Hollywood said, that's because you don't have any women. Wolfman said, until last night. Did you see the moves I was making on that girl at the party? Hollywood said, the girl with the purple fingernails? Wolfman said that's her, tall hungry woman with fire in her eyes. It was great. Maverick said it was bad. Wolfman said bad? Maverick said the girl with the purple fingernails was Coogan's sister. They all laugh. Wolfman looks stunned. Hollywood said Coogan spent half the night looking for her. He said he was gonna kill the son of a bitch who ruined his sister. Wolfman said I didn't ruin her. Maverick said you didn't help. Wolfman said no, really. She came ruined. You think he knows it was me? Goose said seemed not to. But it's hard to know. You never can tell what's in the mind of a psychopath. Wolfman looks very unsettled. Hollywood said hear about ice? Wolfman said what now? Hollywood said he won again. Goose walks beside Maverick now. Goose said something bothering you? Maverick said nothing. Let's just go fight. Wolfman looks very apprehensive as they approach the F-14s. Mechanics surround both planes, making last-minute checks of all systems. Among them is Coogan, 6.5 feet tall, looking mean. Maverick tosses him a wave. Maverick said morning, Coogan. Wolfman said how's it going, Coog? Hollywood said ever find your sister, Coogan? Coogan said you guys know something about that? Wolfman swallows hard and hurries quickly into the plane. Coogan glares at them all with a look that could kill. F-14 foot S day. Hollywood leads, Maverick follows. They point their noses down and dive. Two bogies fly side by side at 5,000, outlined against the blue Pacific. Smaller, slower, they seem helpless for a moment. We hear the instructors in the F-5s. Viper said 2 at 7 o'clock, Jester. Scramble. Jester said Roger. Coming left. Hollywood said holy shit, it's Viper. Maverick said keep your shirt on, he's saying holy shit it's us. The bogies split. Bogey 1 hard left. Bogey 2 hard right. Hollywood sweeps left, pursuing Bogey 1. Maverick hangs back to cover him. Bogey 1 makes a strong vertical move. Hollywood stays on him. Maverick said stay with him, Wood. You're 6 clear. Bogey 1 loops and comes down, and Hollywood almost loses him for a moment before regaining the angle. Maverick said stay with him. Tighten your turn. Goose said bogey at 3 o'clock high. Nose on. Maverick looks quickly at 3 o'clock high, sees bogey 2 returning to the fight. He jerks the stick right, and the two planes make a quick pass. Viper said snapshot. Missed him. Maverick said engaging the other guy. Wood, you're on your own. Goose said just cover Wood, Maverick. Mutual support, man. Maverick said I'm gonna take him, Goose. Goose said don't be greedy. Stay with Wood. Maverick said I want him. Maverick goes suddenly vertical, zooms straight up. Goose said hey, come on, hey. Maverick loops the F-14 down to get the quick angle on Viper in bogey 2. Viper takes off, running from the fight again. Maverick looks over his shoulder and sees that Hollywood still has a good position on bogey 1. He takes a hard right and streaks off after Viper. Goose said what are you doing? We're cover. Maverick said Wood's okay. I want Viper. Goose looks back at Hollywood and bogey 1. Goose said but we're cover. Viper streaks across the sky with Maverick close behind. He pushes the throttle forward to zone 5, full afterburner. Viper shows all his tricks, hard left, hard right, rolling into vertical, flipping into a dive. Maverick stays with him. Viper said goddamn, rookie, you're alright. F-14. Maverick turns to get Viper in the diamond. He hears a Sidewinder growl in his headset. Maverick said what's the range, Goose? I've got a good tone. Viper jinks, but Maverick stays with him. Viper is in the diamond, and the tone goes crazy. But suddenly, Goose said 2 bogeys. 3 o'clock high, 9 o'clock high. Break! They come out of nowhere, flashing down toward Maverick, a crossfire ambush. Maverick's eyes are startled. Jester said atoll on the northern F-14. He's out of the fight. Maverick is stunned. He has been tricked, humiliated. There's a little salt for the wound as Viper and Jester celebrate. Viper said walked right into it. Jester said, not only that, but Zorro got your wingman. Nice going. Goose said, the Defense Department regrets to inform you that your sons are dead because they were stupid. Slaps his helmet like a dolt. Viper said knock off the chatter, top guns. Let's RTB. Viper has the lead. Locker room, day. Silence. Several pilots in various forms of undress. Maverick and Goose sit with their heads down, a hangdog expression on their faces. Dirty Dan's a bar later. Maverick mopes at the bar, a figure comes up behind him. Viper said you know, that was the best flying I've seen since Nam. Right up to that part where you got killed. Viper sits down. He's in a jovial, taunting mood. Maverick watches him guardedly. Viper said 20 years experience, I couldn't shake you. You may be a great flyer. I mean that. Maverick said I lost. Viper said of course you did. I said a great flyer, not a smart one. You fly reckless. Great instincts. No discipline. That ambush today, you followed your emotions instead of your wingman. Of course you got killed, and well deserved to. It was a really stupid mistake. In battle, it gets people killed. Maverick nods and stares at his beer. Maverick said I can take care of myself. Viper said talent is no holy shield. Von Richthofen was killed by a farm boy. Instincts are not enough. Do it our way. We've worked these things out. The good pilots can become better and the great ones can learn how to stay alive. Why do you have to do everything the hard way? Maverick said it's my own way. It works for me. I don't care about the rest of that stuff. Viper said then why are you here? Maverick said for the same reason you are. Viper said oh, you mean the thrill? Maverick said the flying. The fighting. I'd go up there 10 times a day to fight. I'd win at least 9 of them. That's all I want to do. It's what I do best. I am real good. Just give me the jet. Viper studies him. Viper said it's not a gift, just a loan. He finishes his beer, then rises. Viper said 9 out of 10 is okay, as long as it's only fun and games. But this isn't about that. This is serious business. It is dangerous up there. At 500 knots, things can change a lot in a second. Discipline is what protects us. He signals the bartender and drops some money on the bar. He stretches, looks around. Viper said it was a good day. You learned something. You lost and you're still alive to think about it. And, you lost your wingman. That's a cardinal sin, don't ever do it again. You owe Hollywood an apology and you owe me a beer. Viper touches Maverick's shoulder as he moves away. It was just the gesture Maverick needed, for he seems to relax from his tension. He sips his beer alone. San Diego Airport, night. Maverick and Goose move through the terminal, anxious expectant looks on their faces. Goose said relationships are a bitch, here. It's hard enough to concentrate. Under the pressure. Having a woman here is asking for it. Maverick said I guess that's what I'm doing, then. Goose said, where do you find the time? Where do you find the energy? It's tough enough to keep your mind on school. A woman here is a real pain in the. A pretty woman emerges from the crowd and spots them first. She rushes them, happily, carrying her sleepy 4-year-old, Ricky. Goose undergoes an immediate change, beaming a big smile that he has practiced on her for years. She sets down the kid. Goose said, "But hi, honey, God, am I glad to see you. I missed you." Goose wraps his arms around Carol, smack, a kiss. She smiles at Maverick, turns back to Goose. "Carol said I had to come, Willard, I got so lonesome I just couldn't stand it." Goose said, "Sure, honey, I understand. It's great to see you. Hey, where's your backseater, where's the world's smallest Rio?" He looks all around and then down at the kid, hiding shyly behind his mother's skirts. Goose grabs up the kid and zooms him around, a game they've played before, every 6 months or so. The kid laughs happily. Maverick just sort of smiles to himself and shakes his head. A pool. Maverick comes to the surface. She enters frame by the side of the pool. She hands him a split fresh pineapple. He eats it in the most salacious manner possible. He's so contented, he's babbling. Maverick said, "Food, and you my F-14. Charlie said, "In that order?" Maverick said, "Well, order." Charlie said, "I'm still second best." Maverick said, "You ever fly an F-14? Charlie said, "I don't fly in anything fat-doous in show movies." He gets out, grabs a towel, moves over to some chairs. His flight suit is draped over one. He moves it to sit down. Maverick said, "You'd love it. Night carrier landings. The most dangerous thing you can think of, next to you, and the most exciting. You're living at 110% greatest high in the world." Charlie said, "Danger?" Maverick said, "Yeah." Charlie said, "Doesn't it ever bother you?" Maverick said, "Why, what's gonna happen?" His flight suit slips onto the ground. Charlie retrieves it. As she lifts the suit, something falls out of the pocket. Looks like a gold coin. She picks it up. Maverick is drying his hair. She holds the object out to him, questioning. He sees it, quickly takes it, stuffs it back into his pocket. Maverick said, "Lucky charm." Charlie said, "What do you take me for?" "It's a Navy Cross." Maverick said, "Just good luck." Charlie said, "Where'd you get it?" Maverick said, "Pawn shop." "What's to eat?" He roots through a picnic basket. Montage, pre-flight activity. Viper said. MiG sweep over the water. You will proceed down the 17. 0° radial looking for MiGs. You will engage all that you find, destroy them, and return to base. Maverick has the lead. Any questions? Alright, let's go. Move like you've got a purpose. Cloud cover 20,000 feet day. For F-14s fly in formation over the Pacific, searching for. They spot them, engage. The combatants fly scissor patterns, slashing past each other, angling for position. We hear the voices of combat from the planes, a barrage of information exchanges between pilots and Rios. Maverick and Ice swoop close together on each other's wing, moving on each other, testing, they glance at each other and nod. The challenge, the fight is on. Suddenly an F-5 rises up out of the clouds in front of them. Ice has the advantage and rolls in on him. Ice said, "Engaging bandit, 12 o'clock. Maverick said, "SHIT." The F-5 sees his pursuers. Goes into a hard left. Ice said, "MiGs in a left. MiGs in a left hand. I'm engaging." Ice struggles against the G's to bring his nose to bear. They go around into a luffbury, a tight circle. Ice has the advantage. He is closer to the F-5's tail than the F-5 is to his. But he can't close, can't line up the shot. He grunts and strains as the G-force pushes him down. Maverick said, "Come OFF right, come OFF high, I'm IN, I'll engage." Ice said, "Stay where you are. He's mine. I'm engaged. I'm in." Maverick maneuvers close to their left circle. Ice said. Get out of there, you're unsafe. Get out of there. Maverick said fire, or clear out, I see. Ice said get lost. Maverick said you got too much nose to tail incoming in. Ice said it's my shot. Maverick said come OFF right. I'm on my way in. You go free, I'm engaging. Ice said stay out of it. Stay out of it, Maverick. Maverick said you can't shoot him, I can. I'm in. Maverick above. Maverick said ICE, roll OFF, I can shoot him. Ice said no, he's mine. Maverick is pulling a log of G's, but can't target his weapons. He continues to turn in a hard circle, going round and round without gaining. He can't bring his nose to bear. Maverick said if you can't shoot him, I can. Ice said no, I got him. I can take him. Ice stays. Maverick said coming in. Maverick dives down between the two planes pulling 6.5 Gs, exposing his underside to Ice. All Ice sees is belly. Obviously, in this attitude Maverick can't see him. Ice said. Son of a bitch. He slams the stick hard right in toward Maverick. Ice quickly rolls up right, in front of him. Ice said look out. Maverick sees him flash into his view. He has to slam the stick forward to avoid collision. He swings by real close. Too close. Goose said oh, no. They pass through Ice's turbulence. The blast distorts the airflow to Maverick's left engine. Boom boom boom. The engine flames out. Full thrust on the right, engine swings the tail around in a yaw. Maverick slams the stick right to correct but too late. Goose said planes coupling up. Planes coupling up. The plane couples one yaw to the next, the tail swings around, which becomes an ever-increasing flat spin, like an out-of-control frisbee. Goose said this is not good. We're low. Maverick is pinned to the instrument panel by centrifugal force, desperately tries to reach back for the ejection lever, but is falling short by about a foot. Maverick said I'm pinned to the panel. Goose said time to go. Maverick said I can't eject. The plane is spinning ever faster, out of control. He drops the gear. Still spins. Goose is closer to center of spin, G-forces are less. He reaches behind him for the eject handle, starts the eject sequence. Goose said 3,000 feet. I'll do it. Maverick said go ahead. I can't reach. 2,000 feet. Boom, a hurricane of wind and noise. The canopy blasts away, but is held spinning above the cockpit by the vortex of the sinking jet. Goose glances up at it. Goose said 1,000. Maverick said let's go. Eject. Goose yanks the ejection handle. Things happen in a split second. Goose is fired up and out by the rocket under his seat. Almost instantly he impacts the spinning canopy. A sickening crunch. The canopy is knocked away. Maverick is slammed back in his seat as the ejection seat straps wind up. He is blasted out of the plane just before it spins in. Tight on Maverick as he tumbles in slow motion. He's in shock. The loud thumping of his heart, labored breathing, a scream that stays in his mind. Instinctively, he gropes for straps. He releases the pilot seat, it tumbles away. His chute streams, balloons open, snapping his body like a bullwhip. He drifts momentarily, then plunges into the sea. Underwater. His face, distorted in the water, wild eyes, disoriented, choking for air. He reaches out, finds nothing to grab. Suddenly, he is yanked hard to the side. Surface. The parachute is caught by the wind and dragged, pulling Maverick along beneath the surface. He is twisting in the water, turning over and over, trying desperately to slip out of the tangled straps. He finally hits the surface of the water and sucks air into his lungs. With the end of his strength, he hits the release, snaps, and breaks free from the parachute. It whips away like a kite in a typhoon. The sea is choppy and rough. He struggles as his equipment drags him under. He twists, finds the inflatable raft attached to his harness. Maverick pulls the cord, and the raft hisses open. He pulls his body into the 6x2-foot raft and collapses, completely exhausted. The survival has been almost without thinking, an instinctual physical struggle. Twilight. Maverick begins to focus on the situation. He stains the water with dye, then sees another parachute floating nearby. Paddling to the parachute, he reaches over the side and begins to pull on the heavy cords that are submerged in the water. A great struggle. The weight is extremely heavy. Finally, he pulls a body to the surface. Goose. Goose is dead. Maverick releases the parachute and pulls Goose into the raft on top of him. He holds Goose in his arms. His mind shuts down again. From high above the ocean, we see the debris on the water. An oil slick, pieces of honeycomb titanium, and the small, helpless figure in the raft. Dissolve to ocean night. Searchlights skim over the black ocean. A brilliant light flashes as Maverick pops a pencil flare. Helicopter blades flick powerfully. The lights of the choppers descend toward the wreckage area, scanning the debris, searching for life. The spotlights find Maverick and Goose in the raft. The draft from the chopper churns the water. A frogman drops from the chopper and hits with a heavy splashes. He surfaces and swims to the raft as a rescue harness is lowered. Maverick watches curiously as he starts to examine Goose. He hugs Goose closer and looks threatened. Frogman said, "Let him go, sir, take it easy." He tries to pry Goose free, but Maverick has a death grip on the body. Frogman said, "Sir, let him go. It's all right. Let him go." Maverick glares at the man as he bobs in the water. Another long moment, then Maverick releases Goose. The frogman quickly straps Maverick into the harness. His POV. He watches the lifeless body in the water as he is pulled up and away. He shivers from the cold. Hospital room, night. Extreme close on Maverick's face. He is emotionless. His eyes are flat and absolutely without expression. There is complete silence in the room. Then we hear the quiet, calm, probing voice of Viper. Viper said, "How do you feel?" Maverick said, "All right." Viper said, "Goose is dead." Maverick said, "I know. I was there." Not one sign of emotion from Maverick. Not one tone of expression. We see Viper now, and his face is strained from a very long day. Viper said, "If you fly jets long enough, something like this happens to you. No one escapes it. It touches us all." Maverick looks at Viper, and his eyes are very disturbed. Maverick said he was my responsibility, my Rio. Viper said, "My first squadron in Vietnam, we lost 8 out of 18 planes. 10 guys. The first one kills you, but there'll be others, you can count on it." No reaction from Maverick. He can't quite face up to that reality right now. Viper said, "You've got to put him in the box." Maverick is watching Viper, but he doesn't have anything to say. Charlie's sports car, night. The radio plays John Lennon, "Stand By Me." Maverick opens his eyes, doesn't know where he is for a moment. Charlie said, "They say you're all right." Maverick said, "I'm fine." Charlie said, "This is it, then." Maverick said, "What?" Charlie said, "The dark side. The price you pay for all the fun you're having. You knew about it, of course. Didn't you?" Maverick said, "He was a friend of mine. A good guy, a great guy. It was my fault." Charlie said, "That's not what I hear." Maverick said I was flying, my responsibility. Charlie said that's what you get flight pay for. Maverick said maybe I shouldn't take it. Charlie said. Why? You act like you didn't know one day this would happen. Maverick said not to me. Charlie said you knew it. You all do. It's part of it. Maybe the most important part. On the beach, night and fog. Charlie's car pulls up. They get out and walk down toward the water. Maverick seems dazed. She is softly taunting. Maverick said, "Where are we?" Charlie said, "Where are we?" You know where we are. It's called the beach. It's where life first crawled up out of the sea. I come here sometimes. When I feel like crawling back in. Maverick said you don't have to do this. Charlie said do what, show you a good time? Maverick said I'm not good company. I should be alone. Charlie said I don't think so, but if that's what you want. They stand there, not making a move. Maverick said no. Charlie said what do you want? Maverick said I want it back. Charlie said what? Maverick said yesterday. She turns, nods out, past the moon. Charlie, you look way out there. Out past the date line. West becomes east, all things change. You cross the line, today becomes yesterday, or tomorrow, I forget which. Maverick said that's what I want. Charlie said of course the line's just imaginary. You can cross it 20 times, nothing really changes. She turns and walks along the self line. Charlie said on the beach. It's what they say when Navy men retire, he's on the beach. I always liked that. I had my head. All these old guys wandering around here, looking out into the past. He walks to the surf, kicks the sand with his bare feet. Maverick said if we knew then, what we know now, we might never have come up out of there. He turns to her. She just looks at him. Charlie said you don't believe that. Maverick said hardly ever. Charlie said only when you're depressed. Then it passes. Maverick said it does. Charlie, everything passes. Immutable law said of the universe. He picks up a piece of flotsam, a twig, worn smooth. Charlie said this too shall pass. You put as much life as you can between it and you. You start piling up experience between then and now. He turns and walks. Maverick said what do you do when you come here? Charlie said I sit. I think. I play games. Maverick said what kind of games? Charlie said I like to play reality. She stops and turns. Maverick said how do you play reality? Charlie said it's strip reality, actually, like what the pilots always want to play. Maverick said. Strip reality. How do you play that? Charlie said it's like strip poker, only, without the bluffing. One person says something and if the other one accepts that it's true, the one who says it, gets to take one item of clothing off. Maverick said you're crazy. That's a pretty silly game. Charlie said not as silly as some. You know the silliest one, that we are gods. That we control events on the beach. That we can turn back time. She moves in close. Charlie said want to play the game? Maverick said how does it go? Charlie said you say the truth. Go ahead. Don't be afraid. You want to win the game, don't ya? Maverick said what truth? Charlie said the big one. The one that's most on your mind. A long pause, it comes hard. Maverick said Goose is dead. Charlie said. True. Maverick said now? Charlie said take something off. Maverick said off me, or off you? Charlie said that's up to you. He takes the ribbon from her hair. It falls down over her face and shoulders. Now it's her turn. Charlie said it's dangerous, what you do. He nods. She slowly loosens his tie and pulls it from around his neck. Maverick said it was my fault. She says nothing, stands looking into his eyes. He slowly, as if in a trance, takes her blouse off. Charlie said you can't bring him back. She takes off his shirt. Maverick said it was my fault. He starts to reach for her. She pulls back. Charlie said nope. Already used that. She turns and thinks for a moment, looking at the moon. Charlie said your life goes on. Rather than struggle his t-shirt over his head, she grabs it with both hands. She leans in close and bites it. She grabs both sides of the tear and slowly rips it off his body. Maverick said what does it mean? Charlie said. That wasn't fair. It was a question. Penalty round. She drops her skirt. Charlie said you didn't mean it. You didn't think you'd do anything to take it back. Maverick said that's 3. Charlie said, and that's 1. She unbuckles his belt, slowly slides it off. She unzips his pants, they fall. Maverick said 1 more. Charlie said your watch. She unbuckles it. Maverick said you owe me 1. He rests his head on her shoulder, unhooks her bra. She shrugs it off. They stand on the beach in shorts and bikini bottom, looking into each other's eyes. Charlie said looks like a tie. Maverick said who's gonna win? Charlie said we'll say it together. On the count of 3, 1, 2. Leaning in, softer and harder, they both jump the gun. Both together said I love. You. They embrace madly and sink to the sand. From the distance it looks like a strange slithering creature crawling back to the sea. Goose's room, night. The lights are out in Goose's room at the bachelor officer's quarters. The door opens, and Maverick enters. He sets a cardboard box on the bed. Silently, Maverick gathers together Goose's few personal possessions. He fills the box with clothes, books, a clock, a radio, a Walkman, and articles from the bathroom. He examines each closely, like an artifact, as if he might find some message or meaning in them. He fumbles them into the box. He can't see too well, his eyes are full of tears. Maverick closes the box and carries it to the door. He takes one last glance around, then leaves and closes the door behind him. BOQ reception area. Carol and the kid stand, staring at a silent TV. Carol looks dazed, lost. Maverick walks in, finds her. An awkward silence while they both try to think of something to say. Maverick hands the box to Carol. Close up, Maverick. He sits staring right through us, the 1,000-yard stare. A strange white unreal light washes over him. The only color, the navy and gold of the stripes on his shoulder boards. A low rumbling mumbling filters through the hiss of surf or fans or something. Snatches of low whispered conversation, disregard of basic air safety principles, 229 July, within performance parameters. Disciplinary action, tactical doctrine. Even reckless at times. Conjecture, unsupported, benefit of the doubt. Mavericks. Eyes slowly focus. The light attenuates. The surrounding image becomes denser. Things become real. Conference room, day, Mavericks POV. A board of inquiry, a commander and other Navy officers seated behind tables at the front of the room. Maverick faces them, wearing dress whites. Viper is also present. The commander looks at each of the officers. They each nod, in turn, indicating readiness. The commander turns to Maverick and states for the record. CDR, said the Board of Inquiry finds that Lieutenant Evan Mitchell was not at fault in the accident of 29 July. No response from Maverick, one way or the other. Viper studies his face with concern. CDR, said LT Mitchell's record will be cleared of this incident. Still no response from Maverick. CDR. Said Lieutenant Mitchell is restored to flight status without further delay. These proceedings are closed. Maverick doesn't respond. Maverick's room, night. Maverick lies on his bunk and stares at the ceiling. The phone next to his bed is ringing. It rings 8 or 9 times, then stops. He makes no move to reach for it. Cockpit F-14 on Flightline. Maverick sits in the cockpit staring at the controls while the ground crew preps the aircraft for flight. Coogan helps him strap in. He speaks solicitously to Maverick. It is unheard over the jet noise and radio babble. Maverick looks at the cockpit as if it's a strange territory, suddenly foreign to him. He grabs the stick like it's some peculiar talisman. He turns and looks aft. He seems surprised that it moves the control surfaces in the tails. F-14 day. Fungus said bogey at 10 o'clock low. You've got the angle, piece of cake. Maverick checks 10 o'clock low. He is disturbed. He tries to make the move, but he is a man with no secret, he is afraid. Fungus said engage, Maverick anytime. The bogey abruptly turns into him. Maverick hesitates. Then suddenly, he jerks the stick hard right and takes the F-14 away from the bogey at great speed. Fungus is startled. Fungus said what? Where are you? Hey, where in the hell are you going? Maverick didn't. Look good. Fungus said. What do you mean? IT doesn't get to look much better than that? Maverick said no. No good. Flightline day. Jester walks up to Viper who waits near an F5. Jester said he just won't engage. He can't do it, Skipper. He can't get back on the horse. Viper said it's only been a week. Keep sending him up. Jester said I've seen this before. Viper said so have I. Jester said some guys never get it back. He walks off. Locker room. Immediately after Maverick grabs his stuff out of the locker, throws them in a bag. He glances up as Fungus enters, continues to pack. Fungus said what are you doing? Maverick said saving them some paperwork. Fungus said since when did you care about paperwork? Maverick walks away. Fungus hesitates, then follows him. Fungus said if I could fly like you I'd have everything I want. If I could fly at all. I can't fly. I can't fly like that. Nobody can. Whatever it is, you've got it. Maverick said not anymore. Fungus said so, you're scared, so what? You ever get a good look at me in the backseat, I'm goddamn terrified. Grabbing the suitcase, Maverick brushes past Jester and walks up the corridor. Jester and Fungus watch him go. Fungus goes to the phone. San Diego Airport, night. Charlie parks her car, jumps out, and runs toward the main entrance to the terminal. Terminal. Charlie hurries through the crowd, bumping past people, searching frantically for Maverick in the huge terminal. She moves past bench after bench, and her eyes flick in all directions. A quick glance at the souvenir shop, the coffee shop, and then she heads for the bar. Maverick is there, sitting alone in a booth with his suitcase beside him, staring into a drink. Charlie composes herself, then walks to the booth and sits down across the table from him. Maverick does not look pleased. Charlie said never liked fighter pilots anyway. He looks up trying to be angry, but he can't help it, she makes him laugh. Maverick said you came to the right place. The waitress comes up. Maverick, what are you having? Turns to the waitress. Charlie said I'll have what he's having. Hemlock, is it? The waitress departs. He tries not to smile, but can't help it. Charlie said you weren't gonna say goodbye? Maverick said I was, later. Charlie said long distance? I wouldn't do that to you. I'd at least talk to you. Maverick said I didn't want to see you. I mean, I did, but I didn't. Charlie said I know exactly what you mean. Maverick said how could you? Charlie said I've got a gift just like you do. My gift is I just know what people mean, even if they can't say it. It helps when you're trying to communicate with fighter pilots. Like what you just said was I'm embarrassed, I feel I've done something wrong, that I've failed, and I don't think I can live up to the expectations of a wonderful, interesting, intelligent woman like yourself. That about it? Maverick said. Something like that. Charlie said, and I'm gonna sneak off and be by myself for a while, like until I can think of a new career, hotel management or something. Maverick said, big talk for someone who's never been shot off her computer. Charlie said, hey, I never said I was a fighter pilot, I never claimed to think it was fun to be shot off the end of a ship in a storm. I can find contentment in a good book. I don't have to roar by someone at Mach 2 with my hair on fire. Sometimes, I just get happy being with the right man. Maverick said, I hope you find him. Charlie, I think I have. I could be wrong. I have been before. Just remember one thing. If you're not Top Gun, if you're not fighting jets, you're not gonna be able to act like a fighter pilot. You're gonna have to act like the rest of us. You're gonna have to master humility. For you guys, that's the toughest maneuver of all. She gets up, lays a bill out for the drinks. Charlie said, so long, sailor. See you on the beach sometime. She swings away. Her wake sucks in the stares of every man in the place. Then they look over to Maverick, quick flicks of envy in their eyes. He stares them back and can't quite meet their eyes. Beach at Viper's house, later. Viper is tugged down the beach by a 3-year-old kid. They come across one creature who's had a bad night. Viper spots him, he spots Viper, and Viper moves toward him. Tim, Viper's kid, wants to head for the sea and pulls his father in that direction. He stops, puts his hand on his hips like he's seen the pilots do. Tim said, Dad, of all the aminals in the ocean, which one's the baddest? Viper said, I don't know, Tim. You'll have to ask them. Viper turns to the creature, Maverick, and shrugs. Viper said, runs in the family. Maverick stands up. Maverick said, Skipper, sorry to bother you. Viper said, no bother. Maverick said, I called your house. Viper said, my wife's house. Maverick said, she said you took your kid to the each. Every second Sunday. Zoo or beach or the ballgame. Yave the option. What about me? Viper turns, they stroll together. Viper said, we can send you back to your squadron with nothing noted on your record except CNC, course not completed, no explanation required. Theoretically, it doesn't hurt your career, but people always wonder about things like that. Maverick said, or. Viper said, or you can quit. Maverick said, I don't know. Viper said, I didn't know either. That's why I told Jester to prepare your papers. Maverick looks irritated. Viper stops at an ice cream vendor and orders 3 with a gesture. Maverick said, you've already made up your mind. Viper said, it's no disgrace, kid. That spin was hell. It would wreck anyone's confidence. You could be a good pilot again someday. Maverick said. You think I should quit? Viper said, I didn't say that. That's up to you. But I have responsibility for the other guys up there, not just you. They need to know you're all right, that they can depend on you. The vendor hands them ice cream, they take it. Maverick said, here, let me get this. We'll be even. He reaches into his pocket for change, comes out with a handful. Slams it on the counter, stars picking the proper change out. Viper spots something and reaches for it. Maverick sees and tries to block it, but Viper comes up with the Navy Cross. Maverick said, lucky charm. But Viper recognizes it for what it is. Viper said, sometimes it's luck, but in this case, he earned it. I served with your old man. Maverick said, I know. Viper said, VF-51, the Oriskany. You remind me of him. You're just like he was, only better, and worse. Maverick said, I'm nothing like him. Viper said, you may not think so, but you are. Maverick said he was by the book, all the way. Viper said. They waved him off. He thought he knew better. He hit the ramp. Maverick said I never heard that. Viper said not something they tell dependents. Maverick said it's not true. Viper looks at him, for a long beat, throws his ice cream away. Viper said why would I lie? He turns, walks away. Maverick stands there for a moment, thinking, then catches up to him, stops him, struggles with the thought, as Viper breaks in. Viper said you start on a wrong heading. The more you stick to it, the further you get from your target. A good pilot always questions himself, always questions his judgments, stays alert for drift and makes the corrections. You may find a little discipline helps with the fear. You don't have to be alone up there. A pause, quiet intensity. Maverick said, how can I go on? I feel so responsible. Viper said, kid, the plain fact is, you are. I'm not gonna stand here and blow sunshine up your ass. Technically, they absolved you. You and I know what really happened. You pushed it. You are responsible and you'll always carry that. You know what, I'll carry it too. I should have taken you out of that cockpit. I guess I'm a hopeless romantic. I always try to find something worthwhile in someone's death. It's no trade-off. It's not 1 for 1. What you learned isn't worth his death. It couldn't be. But maybe there is some value in it. I know it's the first thing I've ever seen that's really gotten to you. Now the question is, what will you do with it? If it gets you out of flight status, so you don't kill yourself or anybody else, that's good. That's one good thing. You were an accident waiting to happen. Maverick said you think I shouldn't fly. Viper said I didn't say that. That's up to you. I think that if you do, if you choose to come back, you'll be a better pilot. A better man. Maverick said, would you take me back? Would they? Viper said I'll have to think about it. I don't know about them. I do know one thing, we've got a lot invested in you. We'd hate to lose it. Even more than those other guys, naval aviation needs a very few, very good men. Top Gun office. Loud rock and roll. The graduation ceremonies are in full swing. They consist of informal ribbing, laughing, and a lot of talking with the hands. Every now and then, the name Goose comes up and a shadow passes across a face. For the most part, they press on, having a good time. Fungus shrugs at someone's question and looks around. Fungus said I don't know where he is. Pork said what are his plans? Fungus said I don't know. Ice stands proudly holding the Top Gun plaque as others congratulate him. Hollywood looks up as the door opens. Maverick is there. He looks uncomfortable, unsure. He sees Ice with the plaque. Fungus moves over to him, brings him in. Fungus, I'm glad. Wolfman said good to see you, man. One by one, they come over, shake his hand. Viper stands there, looking pleased, but gruff. Maverick walks over, shakes his hand. The party starts to pick up. A real celebration, now. Jester enters, a sheaf of messages in his hand. He takes Viper aside for a word. Viper nods at him. The group's attention gradually swings onto them. They quiet down instinctively. Viper finally turns to them. Viper said, gentlemen, you know how I hate to break up this party before it has a chance to get really out of hand. But there's a major flap on. Hollywood said we're being called back? Viper said you're on your way. Don't bother going to BOQ. Your bags are packed. He hands them orders. Someone turns the music back up. As they shake hands all around, the music grows, becomes purer as the background voices drop out. Tight on Maverick's eyes. Widen out. To include his helmet. Stereo headphones from his Walkman carry the same music from the party as he sits in the cockpit and stares at the gray water rushing under. He sits in his Tomcat on Ready 5 alert. In the back, Fungus plays a hand computer game, Jet Attack. USS Kitty Hawk, somewhere at SEA Maverick's Tomcat sits waiting for a launch order on the forward catapult. Angle, Maverick. He goes over the briefing in his mind. Stinger's voice breaks through the music. Stinger said. Navy Oceanographic Ship. International waters. Fired upon. Unknown forces. INT ready room. USS Kitty Hawk. Moments before, in full flight gear, 16 teams of fighter pilots and Rios pay close attention to the squadron CO, Stinger. Stinger said. By unknown forces, by MiGs. We don't know who they are. All I know is that it's our ship, and our orders are to escort it out of the area. Stinger circles an area on the map. Tomcat on the deck, Maverick. He studies his copy of the same map, headings and vectors penciled in. Stinger said this is bullseye. A rescue operation is to begin within the hour. Your mission is to give air support to that rescue. There are MiGs in the area, and tensions are high. If you witness a hostile act, you will return fire. We will be covering 360 degrees of the compass by section. Be prepared for anything. Ready room. Stinger is speaking to individual pilots. Slider said Ice and Hollywood, Sector 2. He turns to Maverick, who stands nearby. Slider said, and Maverick. You'll back them up, on Ready 5. Close on his face. A moment's disappointment passes so fleetingly, you hardly see it. Maverick said yes sir. As the air crews file out, tense but excited. Ice and Hollywood fly together at 10,000 feet. Their eyes search the horizon, while Slider and Wolfman watch their instruments. Ice said Mustang, this is Voodoo 1, we are on station. The two jets streak across the sky. Cockpit. Suddenly, there are blips on the radar scope. Hollywood said contact. 2 bogies 20 right. At 12 miles, closing. Cockpit, their POV 2 MiGs flying low to the deck. Hollywood said tally HO. 2 MiGs at 2 o'clock low. The MiGs suddenly pull vertical, streak straight up. Ice and Hollywood watch carefully. Hollywood said what are your intentions, boys? Ice said. They're just hassling. Let's work them out of the area. Wolfman said I've got 2 more bogies coming in at 4 o'clock high. Hollywood said GOTEM. The 4 MiGs. Join together in a box formation, begin to circle the area. Hollywood said 2 more contacts. 270 at 10 miles we need some help here, Mustang. Ice said. Mustang, we have 4 MiGs in the area of bullseye. Request you launch the Alert 5 for support. Deck, Kitty Hawk. Maverick sits in his Tomcat on the catapult on Ready Alert, listening to the message traffic. He gets a launch order, turns to the LSO. The LSO salutes, Maverick salutes, and flips him the bird. The LSO drops to the deck. Maverick is slammed back as the F-14 is fired off the deck and rockets into the sky. CCA said Roger, Voodoo. Sky, Hollywood and Ice. The 2 MiGs cross in a scissor pattern in their path. A provocation, they join together again and fly level at 10,000 feet. One of the MiGs does a sudden canopy roll. Hollywood said very fancy. Boom. A flash. Suddenly, out of nowhere, Hollywood's hit. Wham! Just that fast, he's hit and goes down. His F-14 disappears into the clouds. Ice said Wood. Wood, acknowledge. Ice puts his nose down and follows him. Ice said. Voodoo 1, Mustang. Voodoo 3 is hit. Going down. Will attempt SAR. He comes out of clouds at 1500, nothing but empty water below. Ice said do you have them? Did they get out or not? Slider said. No contact. I don't know. Mavericks F-14. Maverick said. Voodoo, Ghost Rider 1. I'm on the way. Wait for me. The Sky MiGs and Tomcats circle. Slider said. They got Wolf, they got Wood. They got them. Ice said. Mustang, Ghost Rider. Permission to fire. Strike said Ghost Rider, this is Mustang. Permission to fire. Permission to fire. Ice said. Roger. Engaging. I have the lead. Mavericks F-14. Fungus said, let's go. Dive on those bastards. Maverick hesitates. Fungus said, come on, man, engage. This is it. Get your nose in there. Maverick hesitates again. He sees the hornet's nest below, planes all over the sky. Fungus said, bandit at 7 o'clock low, solo. Take him. Pull on the goddamn stick, man. Maverick said, okay, okay. Fungus said, don't tell me okay. Do it. Maverick draws a breath, then forces himself to pull the stick over. The F-14 rolls in hard toward the battle. Suddenly, the cluster breaks apart. The MiGs break in every direction as Maverick blasts through their formation. Something comes up through the clouds. A MiG blasts by. Another rolls in and locks onto them. The MiGs swarm toward the Tomcats, coming from every direction. Cannon fire erupts from one of the MiGs. Maverick said, Mavericks engaged. Hard left, ice, padlock the eastern section. The F-14s execute a left oblique turn in unison. They come down in a section attack with their cannons blazing. From Maverick's cockpit, everything looks choppy. MiGs slide past at incredible speed. Cannons blast as the planes scramble for position. Outnumbered 4-2, Maverick and Ice fight. Defensively. Maverick has the angle on a MiG when Fungus spots a missile launch. Fungus said, break left. Break left. Chaff. Flares. Maverick said, braking left. Maverick releases a flare as he takes the F-14 into a hard left. The missile tracks the heat of the flare and sails out of the area, missing the Tomcat and falling toward the sea. Ice said. 2 MiGs on my tail, Maverick. I'm defensive. Maverick jerks his stick right and streaks toward Ice. He cuts off one of the MiGs with cannon fire, driving it down toward the deck. Ice goes into vertical and comes around to gain an angle on the other MiG. His Rio is in position to check Mav's rear. Slider said, Maverick. 6 o'clock. Maverick turns to look and jerks a hard left. The MiG is on him, cannon blazing. Ice yo-yos inside and cuts the MiG off. Ice said, Fox 1. He fires a sidewinder. The MiG turns hard, the missile sails away. Slider said, Bandit, 3 you lock high. Ice's F-14 is suddenly caught in a hail of cannon fire as a MiG sweeps down from 3 o'clock. He brakes, dives. The jets streak across the sky, low to the deck, skimming the surface. Fungus said, Ice is defensive, help him out. Maverick's F-14 rollaways in and intercepts the bogey on Ice's tail. Maverick said, reverse right. Ice turns right, the MiG bugs and jerks into vertical. Maverick swoops after him. Fungus said, stay with him. Your 6 is clear. Maverick closes, jerking left, right, twisting and turning, staying on his tail. Maverick's cockpit. Fungus said, 1 on R6. Bug out. Bug out. Bullets fly by Maverick's F-14 from the MiG on his 6. He pulls a hard left, then takes the plane straight up. We hear instructions shouted by Fungus, but it is all obscured in the sounds and fury of the battle. Maverick peels over the top and comes down like a comet. A series of passes at the MiGs. As they come by, one of the MiGs pulls up. Maverick said, okay, going up. Ice, go high. Ice said look out. They look up. And MiG-21 is coming down, belly to them, close to a mid-air collision. Maverick said Jesus. He pushes down. The MiG roars by. The whole airplane goes BOMMMM, it's that close. Fungus said OSHIT. The shock, the air pressure slams them as it goes by, missing by 4 to 5 feet. Maverick pulls back in, sees a MiG-21 below. It takes off, bugging out. Ice goes after him. The MiG maneuvers, jerking hard left, hard right, twisting up, down. Ice is right in his shadow. They come in hard and low over the sea. He has the MiG in the diamond. Ice said good tone, Fox 1. The MiG starts turning. Ice said ah nuts. The missile goes by the tail. Ice said son of a bitch. Then his tail comes off, the airplane goes over, a chute comes out. The MiG explodes into 1,000 small pieces. They roar by the MiG pilot hanging in his straps. Slider said Jesus. Hey Splash 1 bandit. Splash that sucker. Maverick said I got one here. On the nose. Coming down. Rolling down on him, good sidewinder tone. The MiG sense him, they break, one guy down low. Ice said on the nose? Maverick said GOTEM. Got good tone. He squeezes the trigger. The missile starts to go. The vapor trail comes off, the MiG-21 turns like he's been bounced off a rubber wall, comes around on the missile, beats it. The missile flies by him. Maverick said AHSHIT. God damn it. MiG comes back turning into him. Fungus said there's another one up there. Maverick said I got one coming up. Fungus said and he's gunning. He looks back. 30mm tracers go by, they just kind of float. He brakes, hits air brakes, the trailing MiG dives through. Suddenly another MiG appears, rocketing straight for him. They close at 900 knots, baboom, they pass nose to nose, canopy to canopy. Both planes pitch straight up, trying for the altitude advantage. Maverick said Zone 5 burners. The F-14 outclimbs the MiG sitting on its tail, full thruster, it rockets straight up, away from the planet. Maverick has the advantage. Suddenly, his F-14 runs out of energy. Fungus is the first to call it. Fungus said we're ballistic. Oh shit. The plane backs down on itself, backs into its own smoke as it flips over, falls away. He catches it, just regains control, when a roar. He looks up. Second MiG coming down. Right on him. It fills the canopy. Instinctive, a push to miss him, Maverick breaks fast down into him, a last-ditch maneuver, and the airplane departs of the roll rates and the pitch rates combine and it tumbles over the top, the airplane just goes end over end. They are being slammed and rattled all over the cockpits, bone-jarring, neck-snapping whips. SHRIEKS and screams from the airframe. Terry flying? Fungus said oh mother. Maverick said. God damn it, Mav, you really are a slow learner. Don't worry, Fung, I've got it. Fungus is getting his teeth rattled. He's helpless, he has no controls, there's nothing he can do but hold on. Fungus said don't worry. You've got it. Are you crazy? Maverick said Roger, I've got it. The plane's gyrations are rattling Fungus's helmet off the canopy. Fungus said you've got it? Good. 'Cause for a minute there, you had me worried. It yaws and rolls, starts into a spin. Fungus said now have you got it? Have you still got it? Maverick said yawing right. Fungus said I know. Maverick said rudders left, sticks forward. Fungus said swell. Passing 10,000. Maverick said I've got it, hold on. Fungus said passing 8. Passing 6. Lock your harness. Maverick said. I can recover. Hold on. They're in a progressive spiral, nose low. The altimeter unwinds, speed picks up. The G-forces are forcing them away from the axis of spin, jamming Maverick against the instrument panel at the front of the cockpit. Maverick said, "You with me?" Fungus, also, is jammed to his panel. Fungus said, "Right behind you." He is closer to the center of spin and less strongly held. It doesn't do much good, however, he can't control the plane. The only thing he can reach is the yellow and black loop, the ejection handle. He reaches for it. Fungus said, "Speeds up to 150. Fungus's eyes are wide. The Earth grows larger as it rises towards them. G-forces flatten them. They've long since lost the MiG. Nobody but an idiot would try to follow them in this maneuver. Fungus said 5,000 feet. Speed 200. Maverick said okay. The Earth grows larger. Fungus said 4,500. Critical int. Fungus grabs the ejection handle with both hands. Maverick said no. Not again. Fungus said, "What are you talking about? We gotta go." Maverick said, "I'm not losing it again." The jet is standing on its nose, gaining speed, plunging towards the ocean. Fungus said, "Gotta go, man." Maverick said 280, 290, 300 knots. Fungus said 3,000 feet. "We gotta go, man." 3,000 feet, we gotta go. Maverick said, "You go." "I'm staying with it." Fungus said, "I'm gonna go." 3, 2, 1. Then, just as suddenly, as he's about to pull, Maverick catches it. The plane responds. They're out of the spin. He gets control. Fungus sits there dumbly, hands on handle. Still not believing. Fungus said 111. Sea level. Maverick stops the tumble, pulls the nose up quickly, and the FL-4 sweeps into level flight no more than 100 feet above the deck. He comes up and looks right at ice. Ice is down low. He comes around, a MiG-21 all over him like a cheap suit. A flick, a whip, and Maverick, in perfect position, rolls right in on the MiG. Fungus looks like he just saw Jesus. Fungus said, "What in the Christ was that?" He looks at the MiG target setup in front of him in awe. Fungus said, "Did you plan that? Was all that something you planned?" Maverick's acquired the target and is all business. Maverick said, "All right, I see. Come hard. Starboard, then extend to the east." Fungus is still lividly frazzled. Fungus said, "Because, if that was. Next time you tell me first." Ice said, "ROG." Maverick breaks down, Ice zooms up, breaks in and takes the MiG the other way. Maverick yo-yos in, comes right up behind the MiG, as the MiG starts acceleration. Maverick rolls in on Ice and the MiG. Maverick said, "I got a winder left, but no good tone on it." Ice said, "I can't lose him, can you get off a shot?" Maverick said, "I got no tone. It might get you." Ice said, "What choice do I have?" "Shoot it." Maverick said, "When I shoot, you break left. 3.2 The MiG fires." Maverick said he fired, "Break now." Ice breaks left, drops flares. The MiG's missile follows the flares. Maverick fires. The missile doesn't twitch. It flies right up the tailpipe of the MiG, the canopy flies off, the pilot comes out of it, and then the MiG blows up, we go right through the fireball. Varum, Maverick said, "He's out. We got him." The MiG rolls into the ground, kaboom. They swoop by the pilot, hanging in his straps, he watches them, dumbly. Fungus waves. Fungus said, "What a dope. Maybe they'll give him another plane, and we can shoot him down again." Maverick and Ice join up, light it, stand on their burners and blast straight for the sun. Maverick's F-14. Without warning, a triple roll, as the elation hits him. Maverick's cockpit. Fungus said, "What is it? What's wrong?" Fungus nervously looks around at his circuit breakers. Fungus said, "Is there something I should know?" Maverick said, "Just relax." Fungus said, "Is it the plane?" Maverick said, "The plane is fine." Fungus said, "Is it you?" Maverick said, "Yeah, I guess it is." "We did it. We did it, damn. We sure did it." Maverick said, "Hello Mustang, this is Maverick. I've got a message for Stinger." Strike said, "Roger, Maverick." "Go ahead." Maverick said, "Tell Stinger Maverick has good news and some bad news. The good news is that Ice got a MiG. The bad news is that Maverick got two." He looks over at Ice. Maverick said, "I gotta have one." Ice's cockpit slider said, "We're low on fuel, Ice." Ice considers for a moment, then responds. Ice said, "I know. I know, hell, let's do it." Maverick's cockpit Fungus said, "You're not supposed to." Maverick said, "But I have to." Fungus said then, "Shit. Go ahead. I'm right behind you." Maverick said, "Mustang, this is Maverick, request to flyby. PRI Flybridge, USS Kitty Hawk." The air boss speaks to Maverick over the UHF. The Admiral, the XO, and other officers watch and listen. Air boss said, "Negative, Ghost Rider, the pattern's full." Maverick, "Mustang, this is Ghost Rider. Request a flyby for 2. Officer said, "Who is that guy?" Admiral said, "Mitchell. XO. Likes to brake at 600, instead of 300 knots. The air boss hates him. One time, he came over the deck at 200, shakes the shit out of the bridge. Lifted Johnson right off his feet." Maverick's F-14. He glances over at Ice, who gives him thumbs up. Maverick said, "Boss, you better clear it out, we're 5 minutes out." And we're doing it. PRI Flybridge. The Admiral looks out over the water and smiles. Maverick said, 10 miles astern, boss. How about it? The air boss is livid. He clenches the mic. Air boss said, "Mustang TO Ghost Rider." Just then the Admiral pipes up. "Admiral," said Johnson. Air boss said, "Yes, sir, Admiral." Admiral said, "Give him his flyby." The Admiral looks at the others, tries to suppress his own grin. He slides into his command chair, looks into the wind. On the back of the chair, a clue, his name and rank, RADM. Buford Clancy, Boomer. The air boss burns, but has no choice. Air boss said, "Roger, Ghost Rider, you're clear. Kitty Hawk Day." Sailors line the deck and search the sky. They crane their necks from their battle stations, sweating into the sun, watching for the approach of F-14s. Someone sees it, he points and shouts. The F-14 appears, and every man stands and cheers. We come screaming in, 5 feet over the water, throwing up rooster tails behind. We split OFF and zoom along each side of the carrier, at 100 feet and roll it. PRI Flybridge, Vamo Boom. It lifts the air boss right off his feet. The walls warp. Dust sifts from the overhead. The whole tower just goes boom. Air boss said, "Goddamn that guy." Flight deck. They break at 500 knots. Ice is first down over the ramp, waved in. The F-14 comes in a little rocky. It bounces hard but grabs the wire, then jerks to a sudden halt. The sailors cheer and applaud, throwing fists of victory into the air, straining to get a look at Ice as the crew directs his plane off to the side. Opening the canopy, Ice and Slider unstrap. Stinger and the others are there. Guys are climbing up, climbing all over the airplane. They're already painting a MiG on the side, and they're looking at Ice in awe. Maverick, through the windshield as he lands, he catches the wire, the view slams down toward the deck as the plane arrests, then comes up, he releases the cockpit and can hear the roar of the crowd. Flight deck. He swings the nose around past Ice's. Ice's plane is covered in colored jerseys as the ground crew pulls him out. Maverick's plane swings towards the PRI bridge. Pilots in flight suits pour from the deck hatch applauding. He cuts his engines as the ground crew swarms as Maverick and Fungus climb down. They see their wingmen on the deck. Ice is looking in Maverick's direction. His face is inscrutable. Maverick gets mobbed, but pushes over to Ice. They stare at each other for a moment, eye to eye even as they are buffeted by the crowd. Finally, Ice breaks a grin. Ice said, "I guess I owe you one." Maverick said, "You don't owe me anything. We're on the same team." Ice said, "You saved our lives." "You did it." Maverick said, "We did it." Ice said, "You're a hell of a flyer. You can be my wingman anytime." Maverick said, "No. You can be mine." Now Ice laughs. Nobody's ever gonna win on this one. But Ice smiles at him. It's now a running joke between them. Ice said, "Whatever you say, Commander." He and Slider snap to and proudly salute. Maverick hesitates, then returns it. As Ice and Slider snap it off, it turns into the pilot's salute. They give them the bird. Maverick and Fungus laugh and return the compliment. As they are mobbed by sailors, Maverick is elated to see two familiar figures. Hollywood and Wolfman turn from their battle-damaged Tomcat on the forward elevator as it sinks out of sight below decks. Flight deck. Fungus said, "What happened to you?" Wolfman said, "He got our radio and an engine. We were lucky to make it back." Hollywood said, "Not luck. Skill." Another angle. Stinger rushes up, grabs Ice and Maverick in a bear hug. Stinger said, "MiG killers. You name it, boy. Sky's the limit. You name it. A medal. Anything you want. Anything." Ice said, "MiG killers. What else is there?" Maverick grins, turns away from them. He looks out, at the dying sun glinting over the sea. He thinks how beautiful it is out here. Fungus grabs him from behind. Fungus said, "You hear that? Anything we want." "Anything, well?" Maverick said, "Well, what?" Fungus said, "What do you want?" Maverick said, "What do I want?" Fungus said, "What do you want?" Maverick said, "Any more MiGs?" Stinger shakes his head. No. Stinger said they don't seem to want to come up anymore. There's nothing on the scopes. In fact, everybody's denying the incident ever happened. So, what is it? What do you want? Maverick turns away, considering the options. Flight deck, another angle. Another Tomcat rolls up to park nearby. He looks at the plane. Over the deck loudspeaker comes the final call to the F-14. LSO said, "Okay, gentlemen. You can cut your engines, you have arrived. Way East Sierra. As the engines fade, so does the picture. Fade in. Weeks later. Day, Flightline Miramar, Top Gun Viper, Jester and others walk out of hangar to watch a wing return. Miramar runway, day. Their POV. Suddenly an F-14 brakes, roars in over the field inverted, 100 feet off the ground. Flightline Miramar, day. Jester said, "Whose the hell is that?" Viper said, "3 guesses." Jester said, "Well, he's in trouble and he didn't even get here yet." Jester looks over at an admiral, who steps out of a staff car, squints up at the swooping plane, turns, barks an order to his driver, jumps in the car and slams the door. The car takes off. Miramar runway, day. Further down the runway, MP jeeps, lights flashing, pull out and head for the flight line. Viper said, "Come on." They head for the hangar. Over the end of the runway. The jet brakes at 500 knots and sets down neatly on the tarmac. The rest of his flight follows in perfect formation. Miramar runway, day. Maverick's jet pulling up. He unbuckles his straps, takes his helmet off. He looks over at the approaching caravan. Fungus said, "I think they know we're here." Maverick said, "Let me do the talking." Fungus said, "Oh, no. You did the flying, I'll do the talking." He stands up in the cockpit, gives a snappy salute. Fungus said, "Why, Admiral, how really good it is to see you." Maverick turns away. As he backs down the steps, a jeep screeches up, doors slam open, footsteps. A voice said, "Who's in charge here?" Maverick said, "I am." He's answered automatically, but now it hits him. He knows the voice. He turns. His POV. "Charlie, hands on hip." Charlie said, "Not for long, you keep that up." He hops down, stands there speechless, grinning happily at her. Charlie said, "Well?" Maverick said, "Well, what?" Charlie said, "You got your F-14, you got Top Gun, you got your MiGs, you're our new Top Gun instructor, and now what?" Maverick said, "Oh, I'll think of something. What are you doing here?" Charlie said, "I live here, remember?" Maverick said, "Right on the flight line?" "He's got her on that one." She laughs. Charlie said, "Everybody's got to be somewhere." Maverick said, "Maybe you're somewheres with me." He puts his arms around her. Self-conscious, she pulls away, a little embarrassed to show this on the flight line. He laughs. Maverick said, "That's okay. I always look forward to a challenge." Now she laughs back and puts her arms around him. She kisses him, and now she doesn't give a damn who sees it. Top Gun. Chip Proser, Hollywood, April 19, 1985.